Liyun, let's break up. I woke up on a wooden bed, staring blankly at the woman standing over me. My mind was still a foggy mess. I know you're upset, she continued, her voice cold and distant. But this is reality. In the past, I couldn't fight the engagement our parents set for us. But now that I've made it into the Tianwu sect, I'm taking control of my own life. I didn't say a word. I was still trying to figure out who I was. Senior brother Lu has already promised me, she said, a spark of ambition in her eyes. As long as I stay with him, he'll provide me with resources. He'll help me reach the Xiantian realm in the future. I won't let this chance slip away. She looked at me as if she were giving me a warning. Don't hold a grudge. Don't do anything reckless. People are just born on different levels. If you offend senior brother Lu here, you won't have a place to stand. You'll only humiliate yourself. Think about it, and don't show up in front of me again. She turned and walked out. I caught a glimpse of her face as she left. She looked relieved. She was smiling, ready to embrace her bright future. I sat there, stunned. What a cliché. I just crossed over into this world, and I'm already getting dumped? But as her voice faded, the memories of my new body flooded in. This world was called the Tiangu continent. It was vast, way bigger than Earth, and ruled by martial arts. I was currently at the Tianwu sect, one of the 4 top sects in the Xianwei kingdom. This place was a powerhouse. It had stood for 800 years and produced millions of disciples. Right now, the sect was massive. Between the masters, disciples, and servants, there were over 200,000 people living here. It was basically a small city. Being a disciple here was a huge honor, but it came with a price. The pressure was insane. It was too competitive. The sect had a strict hierarchy: outer disciples, inner disciples, true disciples, and sect walkers. It was a golden pyramid. The sect walkers at the top looked down on the outer disciples like gods looking down on mortals. Everyone wanted to climb that ladder. Everyone wanted to be the golden carp that jumped over the dragon's gate. But wanting it wasn't enough. In this world, talent was everything. It was about your constitution, your bones, and your spiritual roots. You were either born with it or you weren't. Spiritual roots were the rarest. If you had them, you were fast-tracked to become an inner disciple. You'd start with Xiantian martial arts and become a master in a few years. But if you didn't have those roots, you were graded on a scale of 1 to 9. Grade 1 was the best, grade 9 was the lowest. No matter how high your grade was, if you didn't have spiritual roots, you started as an outer disciple. You had to fight through the Hotian realm and pray for a tiny bit of luck to break through to Xiantian. Only a handful out of 1,000 ever made it. Usually, it was only the grade 1 or grade 2 geniuses who had a shot. My name was Li Yun. My talent? Grade 5. In the Tianwu sect, grade 5 was the bare minimum just to get through the door. My chances of reaching the Xiantian realm were practically zero. And if I couldn't reach Xiantian, I couldn't stay. The sect had a 3-year limit. If an outer disciple couldn't break through in 3 years, they had to compete in a massive tournament every June. If you ranked outside the top 1,000, you were kicked out. If you made the top 1,000, you could stay for 2 more years as an assistant or a clerk. But after those 2 years, if you still hadn't reached Xiantian, you were gone. Every September, a fresh batch of hopefuls arrived. Every June, a crowd of broken-hearted failures left. Unless you were an idiot, you knew the rule. If you wanted to survive, you had to grind. It was a cutthroat environment. Who had time for romance? I thought about the woman who just left, Huang Yi, I think her name was. Honestly, it was a relief. At least I didn't have to waste brain cells figuring out how to dump her. I had a chance at a new life in a world of martial arts, and I wasn't going to spend it as a bottom feeder. I took a deep breath. My mind cleared. I stood up and headed for the door. As an outer disciple, I didn't have a private room. I lived in a bunkhouse with 7 other guys. These bunkhouses were arranged around a large, flat courtyard about the size of a basketball court. It was evening. The sun was setting, casting a pale red glow over the pine trees at the edge of the yard. A light breeze stirred the leaves. It was actually quite beautiful, but nobody was looking at the scenery. The courtyard was filled with disciples. They were tucked away in every corner. Some were drenched in sweat, practicing their forms. Others were huddled over books, foreheads wrinkled in concentration. I walked 20 meters and didn't get a single greeting. Nobody even looked up. They were too busy training to care that I existed. I couldn't help but mutter to myself. This place was way too intense. It felt like the week before the college entrance exams back home. Seeing everyone else working so hard while I was just standing there gave me a massive surge of anxiety. If I didn't push myself, I'd be a loser in this life too. I turned around, heading back to my room to grab my basic cultivation manual, the one every new disciple got. Suddenly, a sound echoed in my head. Ding! My heart was set on the path of martial arts, and apparently, the world noticed. A voice rang out in my mind, announcing that the martial path cognition system had been activated. It started calculating my current understanding of martial arts. Martial path cognition points, plus 30. Then, as I watched the other disciples training in the courtyard, another notification popped up. Host witnessed others practicing martial arts. Cognition points, plus 1. I froze. Then, I turned on my heel and sprinted back to my room. I covered those 20 meters so fast my face turned beet red and my lungs burned, but I didn't care. A system. I actually had a system. Every transmigrator's dream had just landed in my lap. With this, why would I ever be afraid? Reaching the peak of martial arts and becoming a supreme powerhouse wasn't just a dream anymore. It was the plan. I didn't waste a second. With a single thought, a simple translucent panel appeared in front of my eyes. Name, Li Yun. Age, 16. Aptitude, grade 5. Status, outer disciple of the Heavenly Martial Sect, Yard 95. Realm, Hoteon Stage, Body Tempering, Level 1. Martial Arts, Basic Foundation Specialty, Beginner. Cognition points, 31. Suddenly, a flood of information rushed into my brain. I stood there dazed for a few minutes until it finally clicked. I understood how this worked. Strength comes from cognition. The system allowed me to gain points by observing or practicing, and then I could use those points to instantly level up my skills. Right now, I only knew one technique, the basic foundation specialty. The sect gave it to every new disciple. It didn't have any offensive power, but it was essential for tempering the body and building strength. It was the absolute foundation of the first realm. The technique consisted of 12 stances. I had been here for a month, and between the instructors and my own practice, I'd only mastered the first 4. I was a total beginner. To reach the next level, initial success, I had to master all 12. According to our instructor, Li Baoshan, the record for reaching initial success was 3 months, held by a genius with grade 1 aptitude. With my mediocre grade 5 talent, it would normally take me 8 months or more. But I had the system. I looked at the little plus sign next to my technique and pressed it. A jolt like an electric current surged through my body. My mind went white, then transformed into a silent, void-like space. A figure that looked exactly like me began performing the stances. First, second, third, it moved with a fluid, mysterious grace that I couldn't look away from. After about 15 minutes, the figure reached the middle of the 7th stance and vanished. I snapped back to reality like I was waking from a dream. I checked the panel. My 31 points were gone, reset to 0. That's it. That was too fast, I muttered. I closed my eyes to recall the movements. I realized I didn't even have to try. The memories were carved into my brain. It felt like I had spent 3 months of bitter, focused practice on those first 7 stances. I stood up and began to move. At first, I was a bit stiff, but within seconds, the muscle memory took over. I flowed through the forms all the way to the 7th stance. It was smooth. It was perfect. Compared to this, my previous practice was a joke. I had been doing it all wrong, focusing on the form but missing the spirit. If I had kept going like that, I would have ruined my body before I ever reached the next realm. I wanted more. If I could reach full mastery within a year, the sect would reward me with 30 blood chi pills. Those pills were incredible for body tempering. One pill was worth half a month of hard cultivation. They cost 100 silver taels each. 30 of them were worth 3,000 taels, a fortune my family could never afford. To get there, I needed more points. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and headed back outside. I started wandering the courtyard, acting like I was just taking a stroll, but my eyes were locked on everyone practicing. Witnessed others practicing. Cognition points, plus 1. Witnessed others practicing. Cognition points, plus 1. The points ticked up slowly, about 1 per minute, but they were climbing. After half an hour, I was back at 30 points. I couldn't help but grin. I was about to get another massive boost. Li Yun, what the hell are you doing? A sharp, annoyed voice broke my concentration. I looked up and saw a dozen angry faces staring at me. The speaker was Gu Yunjung, a handsome kid from a wealthy family. He had grade 1 aptitude and was the star of Yard 95. You're not practicing, Gu Yunjung snapped, stepping toward me. You've been hovering around me for 20 minutes. Are you trying to steal my techniques? Gu Yunjung wasn't just some random student. He was one of the elites with top-tier talent. Even the martial deacon praised him, calling his future limitless and naming him the head of Yard 95. In just 1 month, he had gathered a loyal following who hung on his every word. The guy was actually impressive. With his grade 1 aptitude, he had already mastered the 7th form of the basic foundation stance, while everyone else was still struggling with the 4th or 5th. There was even a rumor going around that he planned to master all 12 forms within 3 months to break the sect record. I respected his talent, honestly. But the guy was petty. I didn't like him, but I wasn't looking for a fight either. I had better things to do, like collecting more cognition points. I think you've misunderstood something, I said calmly. Misunderstood? Gu Yunjing sneered. You think I'm blind? Ask anyone here. You've been loitering around me this whole time. Do you really think we can't see what you're planning? He had this look on his face like he'd caught me red-handed. Exactly, one of his lackeys barked. Don't treat us like idiots, Li Yun. You have 0 talent, so you're trying to steal senior brother Gu's techniques. Apologize right now, or we're taking this to the martial deacon. It won't be just an apology then. A chorus of agreement broke out. Everyone started pointing fingers, burying me in accusations. Gu Yunjung looked smug. This was the power of being the top dog. It didn't matter if I was actually stealing his moves or not. If he said I was, then I was. He looked like he was enjoying the high. I could see the ambition growing in his eyes. If being the head of 1 yard felt this good, imagine being the head of all 100 yards, leading 10,000 disciples. 1 word from him could ruin anyone's life. I just looked at them and laughed. Then go ahead. Tell the deacon. You're all a bunch of idiots. I turned my back on them and walked out of the courtyard. They stood there, stunned. Gu Yunjing's face turned a deep, angry red. That bastard. A talentless loser dares to be this arrogant after spying on me? Come on. We're going to the deacon right now. As they stormed off to tattle, I stepped out into the wider world of the Tianwu sect. It was massive. Mountains rolled into the distance, covered in endless pavilions and towers. It made me feel incredibly small. I wandered until I reached a small hillside. Suddenly, I heard a series of sharp cracks, like firecrackers going off. I looked over and saw 2 older disciples sparring. Their movements were fierce and heavy, their fists moving so fast it made my heart race. Witnessed a duel. Cognition points, +2. The points started flooding in. In just a few minutes, I gained 30 points. Added to what I had before, I was sitting at 60, and it didn't stop. Before long, I broke 100. My eyes lit up. This was a gold mine. But just as I was getting excited, the 2 stopped. One of them marched over to me, looking annoyed. Hey, don't you know the rules? If people are sparring, you stay away. You're standing there staring like a creep. Do you even understand what you're looking at? I knew when to fold. I bowed quickly. I'm so sorry, senior brothers. Please forgive me. I'm a new disciple, and I've never seen such powerful martial arts before. I was just stunned by your skill. I didn't mean to pry. Seeing how respectful I was, his anger softened. Oh, a rookie. Fine. I won't have people saying we bully the new guys. But don't let it happen again. Understood, understood. I'll leave right now, I promised. I walked away, my heart pounding with excitement. I had 123 cognition points. It was incredible. I realized then that watching higher-level martial arts gave way more points than watching beginners. I found a secluded corner under a tree and checked my surroundings. Once I was sure I was alone, I sat down. System. Use points. Upgrade basic foundation stance. The mysterious figure appeared in my mind again. This time, the vision lasted much longer. The figure performed all 12 forms of the stance perfectly from start to finish. A wave of profound realization washed over me. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't help but grin. I stood up and began to move. First form, second form. all the way to the 12th. It was smooth, effortless. My understanding of the stance had reached a completely new level. I pulled up my status panel. The basic foundation stance now showed initial mastery, followed by a progress bar, 3%. I felt a rush of adrenaline. Initial mastery meant I could finally use this stance to actually temper my body. More importantly, it meant I had broken the record. I had achieved in 1 month what usually took the best geniuses much longer. There was no point staying outside anymore. I headed back to the yard. But before I could even reach my room, a group blocked my path. Li Yun, you're finally back. It was Gu Yunjung again, and he had brought a crowd. I wasn't looking for trouble, but I wasn't scared either. The Tianwu sect was one of the 4 top sects for a reason. They had strict rules. You could challenge someone to a duel, but you couldn't just bully people without cause. I looked at him, wondering what kind of nonsense he was going to pull now. I stared at Gu Yunjung. He looked like he wanted to swallow me whole. I wasn't worried. In the Tianwu sect, the rules were strict. You couldn't just attack someone without a reason unless you wanted a one-way ticket to the punishment hall. What is it this time? I asked, my voice flat. Are you just bored, or do you actually have a point? He demanded that I follow him to see the martial official. I almost laughed. Who did he think he was? You think because you say so, I have to go? I leaned in closer. You think you're a big shot? You're nothing. Gu Yunjing's face turned a deep shade of crimson. He was shaking with rage. How dare you speak to me like that? I am the chief of Yard 95. I didn't back down. If anything, I laughed harder. The chief? So what? Show me the rule that says I have to listen to a chief. Go ahead. I'll wait. He froze. He couldn't answer because he knew the truth. The title of chief was just a name. It carried zero actual authority. It was a participation trophy for the best student in the yard, nothing more. Move, I said, stepping forward. I'm tired, and I'm going to my room. A good dog doesn't block the road. I shoved him aside. He and his little gang stood there, eyes burning with fury, but they didn't know what to do. They were paralyzed by my lack of fear. Just then, a man in his 20s walked into the courtyard. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Gu Yunjung and his cronies lit up like it was New Year's Day. They ran toward him, shouting and pointing. Official Su, you're finally here. We tried to bring Li Yun to see you, but he's being defiant and arrogant. I stopped. This was Su Qing, the martial official in charge of our yard. In this world, he was basically our head instructor. He didn't have ultimate power, but he had enough to make my life a living hell if he felt like it. I wasn't an idiot. I knew when to play it cool. I walked over before they could poison his mind further. Official Su, I said, nodding respectfully. Su Qing looked at me, his expression unreadable. Li Yun, I sent Gu Yunjung to get you. Why didn't you come? I put on my best wrong student face. Official Su, I'm so confused. I just got back from a walk and these 12 guys surrounded me. They looked like they were going to jump me. I thought they were looking for an excuse to bully me. I had no idea you were actually looking for me. Su Qing glanced at the crowd. It was 12 against 1. It didn't look like a polite invitation. It looked like a mob. He turned his glare toward Gu Yunjung. What is this? Su Qing barked. I told you to notify him, not bring a small army. Disperse. All of you. If the punishment hall scouts see this, they'll think you're starting a riot. I won't help you if they lock you up. The group scattered instantly. Only Gu Yunjung remained, his face twitching. Official, he's lying. Gu Yunjung shouted. He's been stalking me. He hangs around while I practice to steal my moves. He's ruining my focus and he won't admit it. He looked like he was about to cry. His pride was shattered. If he didn't get me in trouble now, he'd never be able to show his face in the yard again. Su Qing sighed. He liked Gu Yunjung. The kid had grade 1 talent and a wealthy background. He was a natural genius expected to reach the intersect within 3 years. That was why Su Qing had made him chief in the first place. He looked at me again. Li Yun, what do you have to say to that? I smiled. I was ready for this. Official, his claims are ridiculous. I walk around the yard to stretch my legs. I haven't said a word to him. As for stealing his stance, I stepped into the center of the yard. I didn't say another word. I just moved. I dropped into the first form of the basic foundation stance. Then the second, then the third. My movements were fluid, precise, and powerful. Su Qing and Gu Yunjing both froze. They were completely stunned, but I didn't stop. I transitioned into the 7th form, then the 8th. Impossible, Gu Yunjing whispered. I didn't listen. I was locked in. As I moved, my system began to ping in the back of my mind. Practicing basic foundation stance. Cognition point +1. Practicing basic foundation stance. Cognition point +1. By the time I finished the 12th form, I had gained 5 points. I stood tall and exhaled, feeling the power humming in my limbs. I turned to look at Gu Yunjing. I have reached initial mastery of all 12 forms, I said, my voice cold. You haven't even finished the 7th form yet. Tell me, what exactly would I be stealing from you? Your mistakes? Your ego? Gu Yunjing's face went from red to white. He looked like he'd been slapped. He was the genius, yet I had just performed a level of martial arts he couldn't even touch. He had no comeback. He was humiliated. Su Qing didn't care about Gu Yunjing's feelings anymore. He rushed forward and grabbed my shoulders, his eyes wide with shock. You reached mastery? In 1 month. He was shaking me slightly. This is incredible. You're a genius. I completely misjudged you. He started pulling me toward the gate. I was confused. Official Su? Where are we going? He slapped his forehead. It's my fault. I didn't tell you because I didn't think anyone could do it. There are massive rewards for breaking the record for the fastest mastery. You didn't just do it fast. You smashed the record. You get a double reward. We're going to see the outer sect elder right now. My eyes lit up. A reward? Now we were talking. I didn't even look back at Gu Yunjing as we left. Gu Yunjing stood alone in the yard, his fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. His face was twisted with pure hatred. Li Yun, he hissed. I don't care about your record. I have grade 1 talent. You're just a grade 5 insect. I'll make you regret this. Just you wait. Gu Yunjing had spent his time riding high on Su Qing's favoritism, lording his position as the head of Yard 95 over everyone. Nobody dared to look down on him. But today, the blow I dealt to his pride left him feeling a level of humiliation he had never known. That hatred turned into a roaring fire in his heart. He gritted his teeth, silently swearing that sooner or later, he would make me pay. Meanwhile, I was standing at the residence of the outer sect elder, Zhang Tsong. What did you say? Zhang Tsong asked, his voice full of disbelief. Joined for 1 month and reached initial mastery in the foundation stakes? You're telling me the record for the fastest mastery in this year's batch has been broken? And by a disciple with only grade 5 talent. Zhang Tsong looked at the excited Su Qing like he was listening to a bad joke. Su Qing, do you think I'm just some soft-tempered old man you can play tricks on? Zhang Tsong's eyes narrowed. You've got some nerve. Do you want me to kick you out right now? I can end your 2-year term as an official tonight and have you packing your bags before dawn. Su Qing turned pale but remained firm. It's true, elder. Please, believe me. The disciple's name is Li Yun. I've brought him here myself. I saw him perform the forms with my own eyes. I wouldn't dare lie to you. Seeing Su Qing's conviction, Zhang Tsong's skepticism wavered slightly. Fine. Bring him in and let me see for myself. Yes, sir. Su Qing rushed back out to get me. I was standing outside the residence, casually taking in the surroundings. I had to admit, an elder was still an elder. Even for an outer sect official, this place was massive, a grand estate spanning at least 5,000 square meters. Above the gate hung a gold-plated plaque with 3 bold characters, Song Yunju. The handwriting was magnificent. I could feel a powerful, spirited energy radiating from the strokes. I found myself staring at it, mesmerized. Suddenly, a string of notifications flashed in my mind. Asterisk observing martial intent. Cognition points +30, asterisk. Asterisk observing martial intent. Cognition points +30, asterisk. Asterisk observing martial intent. Cognition points +30, asterisk. In just 10 seconds, my cognition points surged past 200. I stood there, jaw dropped, my heart racing with pure joy. Holy crap, that plaque contained martial intent. If I stood here for 2 hours, wouldn't I be set for life? I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. With enough cognition points, reaching initial mastery was nothing. I could probably push the foundation stakes to perfection by tonight. Earlier, I was a bit annoyed that Su Qing had left me waiting outside, but now, that annoyance vanished instantly. I fixed my gaze on the plaque, staring at it so intensely I looked like I was trying to burn holes through the wood. Su Qing ran out and caught me in that state. He couldn't help but chuckle. "Look at that face," he teased. "You're acting like you can actually understand the innate intent hidden in that plaque. Stop staring. Until you reach a higher realm, you won't understand a thing, no matter how hard you look. You'll just hurt your eyes." I looked at him, wanting to tell him he had no idea what he just interrupted. I had just found a gold mine, and he was dragging me away from it. Couldn't he have taken 5 more minutes? "Come on, don't just stand there," Su Qing urged. "Elder Zhang Tsong wants to see you. Let's go." I sighed and followed him inside. On the way, Su Qing kept whispering instructions. "Perform well. Be humble. Elder Zhang is in charge of martial instruction for the outer sect. One word from him can decide whether a disciple stays or goes. But if you get on his good side, your future will be smooth sailing." I nodded repeatedly. I knew when to be bold, but I also knew when to show respect. I didn't hold a grudge against Su Qing for his earlier bias toward Gu Yunzheng. He was giving me a massive opportunity now, and I wasn't going to waste it. "I understand," I said seriously. "Thank you for the guidance, Official Su. Regardless of what I achieve in the future, I won't forget the kindness you showed me today." Su Qing's spirit lifted. He looked at me with newfound appreciation. He had given Gu Yunzheng plenty of help because of his grade 1 talent, but Gu Yunzheng always took it for granted, as if it were his birthright. Whether I was being sincere or not didn't matter. I had the right attitude. Compared to Gu Yunzheng, the difference was night and day. We entered the inner hall. "So," Zhang Tsong said, his eyes scanning me, "you're the one Su Qing says mastered the foundation stakes in a month." "Disciple Li Yun from Yard 95 greets the elder," I said, bowing. "Li Yun." Zhang Tsong's eyes flashed. "Not Gu Yunzheng, not Zhang Chu. I remember Yard 95 had a grade 1 talent and a top-tier grade 2. I don't recall your name." "Elder, my talent was measured at grade 5 upon entry," I replied. "Grade 5? Zhang Tsong looked stunned. "A grade 5 reached initial mastery in a month? Are you telling me the talent test was wrong?" "No. Elder, you misunderstand," I said quickly. "I can't really explain it myself. I just found the foundation stakes easier to understand than most. Maybe it was just luck." "Luck?" Zhang Tsong laughed. "If luck can let a grade 5 break the sect record, then your luck is terrifying. Enough talk. Show me." I didn't hesitate. I stepped back, found a clear space, and began. I moved through all 12 forms, one after another. To an expert like Zhang Tsong, my movements might have looked a bit unpolished, lacking a perfect, seamless flow, but the mastery was undeniable. Every posture was textbook perfect. At this rate, I'd reach the proficient stage in a month and perfection within a year. Zhang Tsong was internally reeling. Was this a hidden gem that had been overlooked? Or had the entry test actually failed? He couldn't just retest me, though. That would be a slap in the face to the officials who handled the recruitment. If a mistake was found, they'd have to retest all 40,000 new disciples, which would cause a massive scandal. He wasn't about to stick his neck out for that. Zhang Tsong stood there, his face a mask of calculated calm. I could tell he was thinking fast. If he called me out as a fraud or demanded a retest, he'd be starting a fire that would burn the entire recruitment department. A lot of powerful people would lose their jobs if a grade 5 talent was actually this good. Instead of causing a scene, he decided to watch me from the shadows. "Fine," he said, a small smile finally breaking through. "Very good. Achieving initial mastery in a month proves you have talent and, more importantly, you've worked hard. The sect doesn't ignore effort." He reached into his robe and pulled out a small white jade bottle. Inside are 2 chi blood pills. One is for reaching initial mastery within 3 months. The other is a reward for breaking the record. My heart jumped. I took the bottle, bowing deeply to hide my excitement. "Thank you, Elder Zhang." "Don't get arrogant," he warned, his voice turning serious. "The foundation stakes are just the beginning of the martial path. You have a long way to go. I'll make you a promise. If you can reach the proficient stage within 15 days, don't bother going through Su Qing. Come straight to me. I'll give you 2 more pills and personally teach you a martial skill." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "This won't come from the sect library. It will be a private lesson from me." Su Qing's jaw practically hit the floor. I was stunned too. Usually, Disciples have to grind for a year or two just to reach this substantial stage before they're even allowed to look at a real martial technique. Most people waste their entire 3-year window just trying to get the basics down. Zhang Tsung wasn't just giving me a shortcut. He was offering me his protection. If he taught me privately, it meant I was under his wing. Anyone who wanted to mess with me would have to think twice. As we left the estate, Su Qing grabbed my shoulder, his expression urgent. Li Yun, you have to seize this. For those of us without special spiritual roots, breaking through to the Xiantian realm is nearly impossible. Zhang Tsung's guidance is a golden ticket. He didn't stop there. He led me back to his private quarters, a small, cramped room filled with the scent of old paper. He started rummaging through a wooden chest until he pulled out a yellowed, tattered notebook. As an instructor, I'm not allowed to teach you advanced moves, he whispered, thrusting the book into my hands. But this is a notebook on the foundation stakes I bought from an inner sect disciple years ago. Take it. Just don't tell anyone. I opened the book, and my eyes widened. My system interface flared to life immediately. Observing foundation stakes notes. Cognition points +2. Observing foundation stakes notes. Cognition points +2. 3 days passed in a flash. I found a quiet, secluded corner outside yard 95 to avoid prying eyes. I sat there, clutching the notebook, and checked my status. To be honest, I had actually reached the proficient stage the very first night after leaving Su Qing's place. The points I'd farmed from the plaque at Zhang Tsung's estate were that powerful. But I wasn't stupid. A grade 5 talent hitting proficient overnight would look like witchcraft. I had to lay low and pretend to struggle for a few days. I also realized that watching my classmates practice in Yard 95 was becoming useless. They were too far behind me now. The system barely gave me any points for watching them stumble through the forms. I needed higher-level material. Thankfully, Su Qing's notebook was a goldmine. Every minute I spent studying it gave me more points. By the afternoon of the third day, I had banked over 400 points. I decided it was time. I dumped every single point into my progression. A wave of clarity washed over me. My understanding of the foundation stakes shifted, locking into place. I had officially reached this substantial stage. I stood up and began the forms. My movements were no longer just precise. They were fluid, connected like a flowing river. As I held the final stance, I felt a strange, invisible connection to the ground beneath my feet, as if roots were sinking into the earth. Suddenly, my blood began to roar in my ears. My bones creaked and popped with a series of sharp, rhythmic explosions. I froze, startled by the sound, and pulled up the system panel one more time. My breath hitched. My cultivation level had jumped. I wasn't just at stage 1 anymore. I had officially reached body refining stage 2. Reaching body refining stage 2 wasn't some world-shattering breakthrough. In reality, the difference between stage 1 and stage 2 was just a bit more strength and a sturdier physique. But for me, it was a massive, tangible step forward. I'd achieved this without a single pill or supplement. The feeling of raw power flowing through me was incredible. I thought about the 2 blood chi pills Zhang Tsung had given me as a reward. Part of me wanted to swallow them right now to push my cultivation even higher. But I caught myself. It would be a waste. At my current rate, my foundation stakes would reach perfection soon. Taking a blood chi pill at this substantial stage only lets you absorb about 50% of the medicinal power. The rest just leaks out through your pores. But at perfection, you can absorb almost 100%. Each pill was worth 100 silver taels. I wasn't some rich heir who could treat gold like dirt. I had to be smart. Body refining stage 2, and your foundation stakes have already hit the substantial stage? A voice filled with surprise cut through the air. I jumped, spinning around. About 10 meters away, a woman in white was standing there. I hadn't heard her approach at all. She looked to be about 23 or 24, and she was stunning. She was tall with a graceful, curvy figure and a face that looked like it had been touched by a divine filter. She had an ethereal, refined aura that made her seem like she didn't belong in the mundane world. "Who are you?" I asked, keeping my guard up. I knew she had to be a powerful martial artist to sneak up on me like that. "My name is Zhang Ruhan," she said calmly. "I'm from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion in the inner sect." I felt a surge of respect. "Senior Sister Zhang." I'm a disciple from Outer Sect Yard 95. It's an honor to meet you. I wasn't the type to lose my head over a pretty face. More importantly, I knew that anyone in the inner sect was likely a Shintian-level master. If I offended her, she could break me with a flick of her finger. Yard 95. Her eyes flashed with interest. What a coincidence. That means you're a classmate of my younger brother, Zhang Chu. Zhang Ruhan's heart skipped a beat. Her brother had just joined the sect this year, and she'd come to check on him to make sure no one was bullying him. She had just returned from a sect mission and hadn't even turned it in yet. She never expected to stumble upon one of his classmates, especially one who seemed so extraordinary. Someone like this was definitely worth befriending for her brother's sake. I was stunned. This beautiful woman was Zhang Chu's sister? She smiled, and it was like a flower blooming. It really is a coincidence. Tell you what, if you're free, could you go find Zhang Chu for me? I'd like to take you both for a walk through the inner sect. My eyes lit up. This was a golden opportunity. The Tianwu sect had strict rules. While disciples could move around, places like the inner sect Zhang Yunju were off-limits unless you were invited or escorted. I didn't know exactly why she was being so nice, but I didn't care. The inner sect was crawling with masters. That meant a massive harvest of cognition points was waiting for me. Of course, I said. I'll go get him right now. I hurried back to Yard 95 and found Zhang Chu in his dorm. When I told him his sister was looking for him, he was thrilled. But when I mentioned she wanted to take both of us to the inner sect, his face soured. He looked at me with deep suspicion. Wait a minute, Zhang Chu growled. Why did she send you? Why didn't she come herself? And why would she want to take you to the inner sect? He suddenly grabbed me by the collar, his eyes burning with rage. Li Yun, you bastard. Did you do something to my sister? I rolled my eyes. Are you serious? Your sister is an inner sect disciple. I'm just an outer sect nobody. You think I'd dare try anything? I value my life, thanks. Zhang Chu blinked, slowly letting go. Okay, fair point. But it still doesn't make sense. You're not family. We aren't even that close. Why would she invite you? I don't know, I shrugged. Why don't you ask her yourself? She gave me an order, and I'm not about to disobey as senior sister. Fine, let's go, he huffed, stomping out of the room. I followed behind him with a quiet smirk. It was a bit thick-skinned of me to tag along, but for those cognition points, I'd endure a little attitude. We reached the spot where Zhang Ruhan was waiting. Sister, Zhang Chu shouted before we even reached her. What are you doing here? Why didn't you come find me? And why are you bringing Li Yun along? What's going on? Zhang Ruhan's expression went cold. Without a word, she reached out and rapped him hard on the head. Ow. Sister, what was that for? He yelled, rubbing his scalp. Does it hurt? She asked. Good. It's been too long since I've given you a lesson. Who gave you permission to speak to me like that? You want to talk back? She threatened, raising her hand again. If you keep this up, I'll beat you right here in front of your classmate. Don't think I won't. Zhang Chu immediately covered his mouth and shook his head. It was clear who held the power in that family. I tried to hide my grin as I stepped forward. Senior Sister Zhang, I brought him. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. I wanted to go to the inner sect, but I had to play it cool. I also wanted to see why she was really doing this. Wait, she said. Meeting today was fate. Besides, you're in the same yard as my brother. Zhang Chu is a bit slow and doesn't know how to handle social situations. As his sister, it's my job to help him build good relationships with his peers. If you have time, I'd really like you to join us. I understood immediately. She had seen my progress, the substantial stage stakes, and my stage 2 cultivation. She thought I was a hidden genius and wanted to recruit me as an ally for her brother. I didn't mind at all. In this world, you have to show your value before anyone treats you with respect. And if that respect came with a free pass to the inner sect, I was all in. In the real world, nobody is nice for no reason. People only show kindness when they see value in you, and right now, I had plenty of value in Zhang Ruhan's eyes. Her invitation was a calculated move, and I wasn't about to decline. I wouldn't dream of refusing, I said smoothly. Thanks to Senior Sister Zhang, I'll get to see the inner sect ahead of schedule. It'll be quite the eye-opener. Humph, ahead of schedule? Give me a break. Zhang Chu was standing off to the side, clearly annoyed by how well I was getting along with his sister. He couldn't hold his tongue any longer. You? A guy with 0-grade talent? You're practically at the bottom of the 95 candidates in our yard. If you miss the official tour today, you probably won't get another chance to see the inner sect for the rest of your life. I wasn't angry. I just looked at him and gave a small, calm smile. Brother Zhang Chu, a man has to have dreams. Otherwise, what's the difference between a human and a salted fish? You, he sputtered, his face turning red. Zhang Ruhan actually let out a laugh. I didn't realize you were so humorous, Li Yun. More importantly, you have confidence. She turned and rapped Zhang Chu on the head again. Hard. See that? Learn from him, she snapped. How can you practice martial arts without a sense of calm and confidence? Besides, you're looking down on him? If I weren't your sister, I'd kick you down the mountain right now. You both started a month ago and practiced the same foundation stakes. Tell me, what stage are you on? Zhang Chu straightened his back, looking proud. The 6th stake. I've almost mastered it. Tomorrow, I'm moving on to the 7th. Out of everyone in our yard, I'm second only to Gu Yunzheng. Zhang Ruhan's smile turned dismissive. Is that so? Well, I don't know where Gu Yunzheng is, and I don't care. But do you have any idea where Li Yun is? Zhang Chu glanced at me with suspicion, but his arrogance won out. How should I know? 4th stake at most. 2 days ago, he was still hanging around Gu Yunzheng, trying to steal his techniques. He even got reported to the martial proctor for it. Thwack. Another flick to the forehead, even harder than the last. Zhang Chu yelped, clutching his head as he crouched on the ground. Ow, sister, why do you keep hitting me? I didn't say anything wrong. You're blind, she said coldly. I'll tell you the truth. Li Yun has already reached initial mastery of the foundation stakes. You haven't even finished your 6th form, yet you have the nerve to act big in front of him. Zhang Chu practically jumped off the ground. The shock was so great he forgot the pain in his head. What? Initial mastery? Impossible. No way. Sister, you're lying to me. Lying? I saw it with my own eyes. Zhang Ruhan took a step forward, a powerful aura erupting from her that pinned Zhang Chu in place. Listen to me. From now on, show some humility in front of your peers. If I catch you acting like a brat again, I won't let you off easy. You're only a grade 2 talent. Without hard work and modesty, you might not even make it into the inner sect yourself. Zhang Chu stood there, frozen like a wooden chicken. As we walked, the landscape began to change. The Tianwu sect was built on Tiandong Mountain, a massive range where peaks rolled into valleys like a crouching dragon. It felt ancient and powerful. The inner sect was divided into 4 great valleys named after the 4 mythical beasts: Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise. After nearly an hour of hiking, we arrived at the entrance of the Vermilion Bird Court. It was a massive valley entrance marked by a towering stone monument. Carved onto the stone was a magnificent image of the vermilion bird soaring through flames, alongside 3 bold, flowing characters: Vermilion Bird Court. I stared at the monument, and suddenly, my system went wild. Observing the Vermilion Bird Court monument. Cognition points, plus 100. Observing the Vermilion Bird Court monument. Cognition points, plus 100. The notifications were flashing so fast I could barely keep up. Every breath I took earned me another 300 points. I was so excited I wanted to scream. At this rate, I didn't want to go inside. I wanted to bring a sleeping bag and live at the gate as a security guard. This trip to the inner sect was the best decision I'd ever made. We're here, Zhang Ruhan said, turning to face us. Inside is the Vermilion Bird Court. Before we enter, I have to warn you. Most of the disciples here are women. Keep your eyes to yourselves. Don't go staring where you shouldn't. Understand? Zhang Chu nodded vigorously. I know, sister. I won't look. Let's just go in. My heart sank. If we went in, I'd lose this gold mine. I had to stall. I understand, senior sister. But are there any other taboos? I want to make sure I don't cause trouble. Zhang Ruhan glanced at her impatient brother and gave him another smack. See? Look how cautious and steady Li Yun is. And look at you. If you weren't my brother. I know, Zhang Chu grumbled, rubbing his head. You'd kick me down the mountain. Who's the real sibling here anyway? He was clearly sulking. Ever since we met, his sister's attention had been entirely on me. She had spent the whole walk explaining the scenery and even giving me tips on martial arts. If he didn't know she was already engaged, he probably would have suspected she had a crush on me. You still talking back? Zhang Ruhan glared. Zhang Chu ducked behind me. I'm done. I'm not talking back anymore. I felt a bit awkward. I wasn't being steady or cautious. I was just trying to buy time. Every second meant more points. According to her warning, I wouldn't be able to look around freely once we were inside, so I had to milk this monument for all it was worth. Senior sister, brother Zhang Chu, is just excited, I said, trying to play peacemaker. It's only natural for an outer sect disciple to be eager to see the inner sect. Exactly. What Li Yun said, Zhang Chu chimed in, seeing his sister's expression soften. And sister, you can't keep hitting me. I'm a disciple of the sect now. If you keep hitting me like a child, I'll lose face. Zhang Ruhan's eyes widened as her temper flared again. I stepped in to stop her, but inside, I was laughing. In the time it took to have this little argument, my cognition points had surged past 20,000 and were closing in on 30,000. With this much, I could guarantee that when I got back, I'd master the 7th stake instantly. If I stayed a little longer, I might even reach perfection today. After all, Zhang Ruhan had just shared some very important news on the way here. Once I reached full mastery of the 7 stakes, I could attempt to grasp the 5 hidden intents within them. Very few disciples in the history of the Heavenly Martial Sect had ever managed that. But those who did always achieved incredible things. They built a foundation so solid that their inner strength became far more powerful than their peers. One step ahead meant staying ahead for life. It made breaking through to the later realms much easier. I was lost in these thoughts when a sharp, unwelcome voice cut through the air. Li Yun, what are you doing here? A group of people walked out from the gates of the Vermilion Bird Court. The leader was a young man with a straight posture and handsome features, but his eyes were dripping with arrogance. Right behind him, looking timid and submissive, was Huang Yi, my predecessor's childhood sweetheart and former fiancée. When she saw me, she almost jumped out of her skin. Her voice turned shrill as she rushed over. Li Yun, what do you think you're doing? Who told you I was coming to the Vermilion Bird Court? Why did you follow me here? She looked at me like I was filth. Do you have any idea where you are? This is a restricted area. An outer sect disciple like you has no right to be here. Get out before you upset Senior Brother Lu. If he gets angry, you won't even be able to stay in the outer sect. My face darkened instantly. I never expected to run into her here. It was obvious this Senior Brother Lu was an inner sect disciple and had brought her in. This was bad news. Getting on the bad side of an inner sect member because of a woman like her was a disaster I didn't need. I didn't hesitate for a second. I looked her dead in the eye and spoke up. Wait, who are you? I don't know you. How do you know my name? You must have the wrong person. Huang Yi froze. Then her face turned red with rage. Li Yun, stop acting. You followed me all the way here, and now you're pretending you don't know me? Do you think this will make me change my mind? Forget it. It's over between us. That marriage contract was forced on my parents by yours. I never liked you. Give up and stop harassing me. I stared at her, stunned by her ego. The arrogant young man, Lu Ningkong, frowned and walked over. What's going on? He asked. She immediately grabbed his arm, looking like a victim. Senior Brother Lu, this is Li Yun. I don't know how he found out you were bringing me to the inner sect, but he followed us. He's delusional. It's not my fault. Lu Ningkong turned his cold gaze toward me. So you're Li Yun? I gave a polite cupped fist salute. Senior brother, my name is indeed Li Yun, but I honestly don't know this woman. I didn't come here for her. There must be a misunderstanding. I was a professional at playing dumb. If I didn't have the memories of the man who owned this body, I really wouldn't know her. There was no way I was going to fight over a woman this stupid. Lu Ningkong didn't look like he believed me. But before he could speak, Zhang Ruhan stepped in. Lu Ningkong, there's no misunderstanding, she said calmly. I brought Li Yun here. He didn't come for her. Oh, is that so? Lu Ningkong smiled thinly. Then, without warning, he spun around and slapped Huang Yi across the face. You blind fool. You actually mistook someone brought here by senior sister Zhang Ruhan? You're an idiot. Huang Yi's eyes welled up with tears. She looked heartbroken and confused. Senior Brother Lu, I didn't get it wrong. He really is. You're still talking back? Lu Ningkong barked. He swung his hand again, hitting her so hard she flew back several meters. Then he turned to me with a fake, oily smile. Junior Brother Li Yun, right? Just a small misunderstanding. Don't take it to heart. Take it to heart? No, no, not at all, I said, waving my hands dismissively. I didn't care if he beat her to death. It was none of my business. Zhang Ruhan didn't want to deal with him any longer. Fine. Since it's cleared up, let's go. Li Yun, Zhang Chu, follow me. She led us straight into the Vermilion Bird Court. Lu Ningkong didn't stop us, but he stared at Zhang Ruhan's back with predatory eyes, swallowing hard. Damn, he muttered to himself. Zhao Chuanfeng is lucky to have her. I can't touch her yet. But bringing 2 men into the court behind his back? If Zhao finds out, his reaction will be priceless. The moment we stepped through the gates, I started cursing Huang Yi in my head. That idiot ruined everything. If she hadn't interrupted, my cognition points would have hit 30,000. Now, the chance to stare at the monument was gone. Hey, Li Yun, Zhang Chu whispered, leaning in with a look of pure gossip. What was that about? Your fiancé got stolen? You look like you've been dumped. No, it wasn't like that, I snapped. I wasn't going to admit to something so embarrassing. She had the wrong guy. Zhang Chu snickered. Come on, man. She screamed your name and ran right at you. How could she be wrong? Tell me the details. I need a good laugh. Smack. Zhang Ruhan's hand connected with the back of Zhang Chu's head. He yelped in pain. Sister, why do you keep hitting me? You said you'd stop. I never said that, she replied coolly. And stop being so nosy. He told you she had the wrong person. Now shut up. Zhang Chu pouted, looking completely defeated. I suppressed a laugh and gave Zhang Ruhan a mental thumbs up. This kid really needed to be put in his place. However, Zhang Ruhan's expression turned serious as she looked at me. That man was Lu Ningkong. He's an inner disciple of the White Tiger Court. His father is an elder there, and his grandfather is one of the sect's high-ranking seniors. If there's a real issue, settle it quickly. A real man knows when to bend so he doesn't break. Thank you for the warning, senior sister, I said, my voice solemn. I understand. Good. But don't be too nervous, she added. The Heavenly Martial Sect has rules. No one can just hide the sun with one hand. As long as you don't provoke them, they can't easily touch you. If they try, go to the outer sect and find Elder Zhang Tsung. Tell him I sent you. He'll look out for you. I was stunned. Even Zhang Chu looked shocked. We had just met today, and she was already offering me protection. It felt too good to be true. I started to wonder, was she really being this nice, or was there something else going on? Zhang Chu looked like his soul had left his body. His eyes darted between me and his sister, filled with a mix of worry and disbelief. He wasn't stupid. He knew something big was happening, but he was smart enough to keep his mouth shut for once. Thank you, senior sister Zhang, I said, breaking the silence. I actually met Elder Zhang Tsung a couple of days ago. I didn't realize you two knew each other. Zhang Ruhan looked surprised. You've met Zhang Tsung? She paused, her eyes scanning me as if recalculating my worth. Then, a small smile played on her lips. I should have guessed. He's the deacon in charge of martial arts instruction for the outer sect. With how fast your foundation stakes improved, someone would have reported it to him eventually. She leaned in slightly, her voice dropping a notch. I won't hide it from you. Zhang Tsung is part of my clan. But in terms of seniority, he actually has to call me aunt. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. I stared at her, trying to reconcile the image of the elderly, dignified Zhang Tsung calling this young woman his aunt. It was absurd. Zhang Chu couldn't help himself. He puffed out his chest, looking smug. Surprised, Li Yun? Elder Zhang Tsung actually has to call me granduncle. If you ever glare at me again, I'll go find him and make him punish you. Before the words were even fully out of his mouth, Zhang Chu was airborne. Zhang Ruhan hadn't used her hand this time. She'd kicked him. Hard. It was a new peak in sibling discipline. All right, enough, she said, brushing off her robes as we walked. We're here. This is my residence, the Qing Yin residence. We stopped in front of a small courtyard with red walls and green tiles. I felt a surge of envy. The place was peaceful and elegant, spanning nearly 1,000 square meters. One person living in a space this large? This was the life of an inner disciple. The outer sect dorms felt like a pigsty in comparison. I looked up at the plaque hanging above the gate. The words Qing Yin Ju were carved with a flowing, airy grace. Just like the plaque at Zhang Tsung's place, this one hummed with martial intent. My system immediately pinged. Asterisk observing martial intent. Cognition points plus 30. Cognition points plus 30. Asterisk. The speed was about the same as the last plaque. After experiencing the 300 points per second rush from the Vermilion Bird Monument, 30 felt slow. But it was still better than staring at a manual for 2 points a minute. I'd take it. Zhang Ruhan led us inside. The courtyard was spacious, flanked by rooms on 3 sides. In the center sat a stone table and stools, with a clean tea set laid out. To the right stood a black stone monument. I didn't know what it was for, but the moment I looked at it, the system went wild again. Observing sword testing stone. Cognition points plus 15. Cognition points plus 15. The points were smaller, but the frequency was high. I did a quick mental calculation. If I kept my eyes on that stone, I'd rake in 450 points a minute. If I stayed here long enough, I'd be rich. Sit, Zhang Ruhan said, acting like a gracious host. She brewed a pot of tea and began sharing stories and insights about the inner sect. These were details a normal outer disciple would never hear. I listened intently, soaking up the knowledge while keeping one eye glued to the sword-testing stone. About 30 minutes passed. Zhang Chu was starting to get restless. He shifted in his seat and finally blurted out, "Li Yun, I don't get it. You entered the sect with grade 5 talent. That's 3 grades lower than mine. How did your foundation stakes progress so fast? What's the secret?" I knew this question was coming. I was ready. There's no secret. I just got my hands on a cultivation notebook from an inner disciple. I pulled out the notebook Su Qing had given me. Zhang Ruhan's eyes brightened. "May I?" "Of course," I said, handing it over. She flipped through it for less than 10 seconds before setting it down with a wry smile. This notebook was written by Yuan Lai 30 years ago. He was one of the few who mastered the foundation stakes to the point of perfection and grasped 3 types of intent. He made many copies to sell to outer disciples. Honestly, it's useful, but not life-changing for most people. I acted stunned. "Really? I found the contents incredibly helpful." She shook her head. "Maybe it's just you. In all these years, you're likely the only one who reached initial mastery in a month using this." "I don't know about that," I said, leaning back. "I've just been obsessing over it. Even when I met you, I was still trying to figure it out. I think I just realized something new. Senior sister, do you mind if I sit quietly in your yard for a moment?" She looked surprised, her eyes flashing with curiosity. "Go ahead." I walked to an open space and sat cross-legged. Zhang Chu started to say something, but Zhang Ruhan glared him into silence. I closed my eyes and triggered the system. I dumped my points into the foundation stakes. In my mind, a phantom figure began performing the 12 forms with fluid, effortless power. 15 minutes passed. I'd burned 6,000 cognition points. I opened my eyes, a sharp light gleaming in them. I had jumped from initial mastery straight to the proficient stage. I still had over 24,000 points left. I stood up and immediately began the first form. Zhang Ruhan stood up so fast her chair almost tipped over. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Proficient stage?" she whispered. She had seen me just an hour ago at initial mastery. Now, after a short meditation, I had leaped forward an entire level. It was impossible. When I finished all 12 forms, the silence in the courtyard was deafening. "Senior Sister Zhang," I said, acting a bit confused myself. I don't know how to explain it. After studying that notebook and sitting quietly, things just clicked. Zhang Chu was fuming. He slammed his hand on the stone table. "I don't believe it. I have that same notebook. I'm going to try right now." He scrambled over to the open space, sat down, took a deep breath, and squeezed his eyes shut. Zhang Ruhan and I just looked at each other, neither of us saying a word. Zhang Chu didn't even last 30 seconds. He opened his eyes and stood up, looking completely defeated. He glanced at us and sighed. "I can't do it. Li Yun, tell me the truth. How did you actually manage that?" Zhang Ruhan didn't answer him with words. She looked like she was about to explode. In a flash, she moved across the courtyard, grabbed Zhang Chu, and started beating him. She was mortified. Her brother was making her look like a fool. Even after the beating, Zhang Chu wouldn't let it go. He was confused. We both had the same notebook, so why was I advancing like a rocket while he stayed stuck on the ground? He walked up to me and bowed deeply. "Li Yun, no, brotherly. Please, teach me. You have to teach me." I felt a bit awkward. "I can try, but can you stop talking like that? It's making me nervous." Zhang Ruhan let out a small laugh. She didn't interfere. She seemed curious to see if I actually knew how to explain what I was doing. I led Zhang Chu to the side. Look, I've never taught anyone before. I can't guarantee this will work. If you're okay with that, show me your forms. I'll try to correct them based on what I know. Zhang Chu nodded eagerly and started the first form. Stop, I said. He hadn't even finished the first movement. He froze, looking at me with a blank stare. Even Zhang Ruhan looked confused. To her, his form seemed fine, not perfect, but acceptable. Your movement is wrong, I told him. It's too stiff. The first form of the foundation stakes is called the relaxed stake. They say you should stand like a pine tree. A pine is straight, yes, but it's upright and natural. You're just being rigid. You're forcing the straightness, and you've lost the natural flow of your blood and energy. How can you find the essence of the form if you're fighting your own body? Zhang Chu blinked. Isn't straight just straight? Is there really a difference? A huge difference, I replied. In martial arts, a tiny error at the start becomes a massive gap later. Everything is precise. Don't overlook the small things. Zhang Ruhan spoke up from the side, her voice thoughtful. He's right. I knew something fell off when you practiced, but I couldn't put my finger on it. It's upright, not rigid. Listen to him, you brat. Fix it. Zhang Chu shrugged, looking a bit helpless. He knew better than to argue with his sister. But understanding the theory was one thing. Doing it was another. He tried to adjust, but he couldn't find the balance. If he used strength, he became stiff. If he relaxed, his posture collapsed. After watching him fail a few more times, I stepped in to demonstrate. The moment I took the stance, the atmosphere changed. I stood there like an ancient pine that had weathered 1,000 storms. I wasn't rigid, yet I was unshakable. There was a unique rhythm to it, a kind of aesthetic beauty that made the form look effortless. Zhang Ruhan's eyes widened. She had reached great success in these stakes years ago before moving on to internal energy cultivation, but even she realized she couldn't perform the relaxed stake with that much soul. Zhang Chu was just confused. He couldn't see the subtle difference between my stance and his. I spent the next few hours breaking it down for him in the simplest terms possible. I explained the angles, the breathing, and the feeling. Slowly, it started to click for him. We spent 3 hours going through all 12 forms. By the time we finished, Zhang Chu was jumping for joy. I did it. I finally reached initial mastery. Sister, did you see that? I'm a natural. Zhang Ruhan rolled her eyes. You're only a natural because Li Yun held your hand through every single step. Without him, you'd still be standing there like a piece of wood. Zhang Chu didn't care. He turned to me with a massive grin. Li Yun, you're amazing. I've never respected anyone my age, but I'm officially a fan. I'm completely convinced. I gave him a polite, tired smile. To be honest, I was exhausted. Teaching someone else is way harder than just doing it yourself. The only reason I stayed so long was to keep sneakily looking at that stone plaque to farm points. But the effort paid off. The system chimed in my head. By teaching the forms, I had refined my own understanding, and the system rewarded me with an extra 300 cognition points. It was a new way to farm. I could help people, gain favors, and get stronger all at once. I could tell Zhang Ruhan liked me a lot more now, too. Helping her brother was the best way to earn her friendship, which would be huge for me in the sect. But the sun was setting. It was time to go. Wait a moment, Zhang Ruhan said. She went inside and came back with a blue-covered book. Li Yun, you've already mastered the stakes. When you get back, Zhang Chu can take you to the armory to pick a martial technique. But I think your talent is too high for just one. Take this. It's called Cicada Silk Force. I hesitated. Senior sister, is this allowed? It's fine, she said with a smile. You spent half a day helping my brother. We never got to tour the inner sect like I promised, so think of this as an apology. This is my private copy, so it doesn't break any rules. Take it. Next time I'm free, I'll take you both to the Vermilion Bird Courtyard and introduce you to some of the other inner disciples. I didn't turn her down again. I knew she was officially bringing me into her circle. I took the book and thanked her. We were just about to head for the gate when a figure rushed toward us. Ruhan, I heard you were back. A man's voice called out. I heard you brought some outer disciples in. Why didn't you tell me? I could have prepared something. Zhang Ruhan's expression soured instantly. Zhang Chu turned pale and grabbed my sleeve, whispering in my ear. That's Zhao Chuanfeng. My future brother-in-law. He's incredibly petty and jealous. Whatever you do, don't provoke him. The voice belonged to a young man in expensive, flowing robes who strode into the courtyard with an air of absolute confidence. This was Zhao Chuanfeng, Zhang Ruhan's fiancé. At first glance, he was tall and handsome, the kind of man people called jade-like. But when I looked closer, I didn't like what I saw. There was a lingering darkness between his brows, a shifty quality that suggested a narrow-minded, jealous heart. In my past life, I dealt with guys like this in the office. They were petty, prone to extremes, and impossible to please. Back then, I could just walk away. Here, in a world ruled by the law of the jungle, a man like this was 10 times more dangerous. I had a system, sure, but I wasn't invincible yet. I was still in my growth phase. The best move was to lay low and get out of here before things got messy. Senior Sister Zhang, I said, cupping my hands. Since you have a guest, we'll take our leave. I shot Zhang Chu a look. He caught on instantly. Right. Since my future brother-in-law is here, you two must have things to discuss. Sister, we're heading back. Oh, is that Zhang Chu? Zhao Chuanfeng reached us before we could move. He spoke with a joking tone, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. It was cold and skin-deep. Why run the moment I arrive? Do I look like a monster to you? I finally understood why Zhang Chu was so terrified. Even if this guy were my brother-in-law, I'd want to stay as far away from him as possible. I wondered why someone as sensible as Zhang Ruhan would ever agree to marry a man like this. Her expression told the whole story. She looked disgusted. Zhang Chu started stammering, his voice shaking. Zhao? Senior brother Zhao, I didn't mean that. We've just been here a long time and… What did you call me? Zhao Chuanfeng's face hardened. Call me Brother Feng. Ah yes, Brother Feng. That's enough, Zhang Ruhan snapped. She glared at Zhang Chu, clearly annoyed by how pathetic he was acting. Xiao Chu, you and your classmate have stayed long enough. Go back to the outer sect. I won't see you out. Zhang Chu looked like he'd just received a death row pardon. He grabbed my sleeve, ready to bolt. Wait! Zhao Chuanfeng shouted. We froze. He ignored us and turned his gaze toward Zhang Ruhan, his voice dripping with resentment. What is this? I hear you brought outer sect disciples in, so I come to say hello. The moment I show up, you chase them away. Are you hiding from me? Do you still see me as an outsider? Zhang Ruhan's face paled slightly. You're overthinking it. We're engaged. How could I see you as an outsider? I just don't want to cause trouble. Cause trouble? Zhao Chuanfeng's face turned a violent shade of red. Me being here is causing trouble now? You treat me like a plague. Can you stop shouting? Zhang Ruhan's voice went cold. You're making a scene in front of 2 juniors. Don't think I don't know why you're here. You've been listening to that snake Lu Ningkong again, haven't you? Zhao Chuanfeng choked on his words. Lu Ningkong is trash, and you know it. You ran all the way from the Azure Dragon courtyard because of a few words from him? Do you have even a shred of trust in me? I'm an inner sect disciple of the Vermilion Bird courtyard. Even if Xiao Chu wasn't my brother, what's wrong with me bringing a couple of students here? I'm sorry. I was wrong. Zhao Chuanfeng muttered, his anger vanishing instantly. He shifted into a pathetic, groveling mode, trying to win her back. I watched the whole display with a bitter taste in my mouth. This guy was a jealous, petty simp. And as for that Lu Ningkong we met at the gate, he was a piece of work. He hadn't said anything to our faces, but he'd run straight to the jealous fiancé to stir up drama. He wanted to use Zhao Chuanfeng to get rid of me. Fine. Let him play his games. My principle was simple. If you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. But if you do, I don't care who your father is. Once I'm strong enough, I'll end you. For now, though, cognition points were the only thing that mattered. I stayed silent, hoping to fade into the background. Zhang Ruhan's expression softened slightly under the guy's apologies. Sensing an opening, Zhao Chuanfeng smiled. How about this? Since Xiao Chu is here, let me take him and his friend to tour the Azure Dragon courtyard. Zhang Chu looked like he wanted to die. No need, Brother Feng. It's getting dark. Li Yun and I really should get back. What's that supposed to mean? Zhao Chuanfeng's voice turned sharp again. You looking down on me? I'm your future brother-in-law. I'm trying to open your eyes to the inner sect. If word gets out that I didn't look after you, how will it look for me? If you use the darkness as an excuse, it just means you don't see me as family. Ruhan, back me up here. He was back to being aggressive, the simp act completely gone. The guy changed personalities faster than a stage performer. Zhang Ruhan looked helpless, exhaling a soft sigh before she finally spoke up. Xiao Chu, since Zhao Chuanfeng insisted, go ahead and take a tour with him. As for Li Yun, I'll personally see him back. Zhang Chu nodded, his face a mask of misery. He didn't want to go. He hated the idea of spending another second looking at Zhao Chuanfeng's face. But his sister had spoken, and he didn't have a choice. Zhao Chuanfeng's expression darkened instantly. No. Since they came together, they leave together. Taking Xiao Chu while sending his friend back alone? What kind of host would that make me? He turned his gaze toward me, his eyes sharp and predatory. You're Li Yin, right? I'm inviting you to join us at the Azure Dragon Courtyard. You're not going to turn me down, are you? I cursed him mentally. I had tried so hard to be invisible, yet here I was, being dragged into his power trip. He was practically threatening me. Fine. If he wanted to show off, I'd go. I could use the trip to harvest more cognition points anyway. Senior Brother Zhao's invitation is an honor, I said, keeping my voice humble. I'm just a lowly outer sect disciple. How could I refuse? Zhao Chuanfeng gave me a look that said at least you know your place. Good. Let's go. He turned on his heel and marched out of the residence without another word. Zhang Chu looked at his sister with pleading eyes. Sis, come on. Tell him we need to go back. I really don't want to do this. Stop complaining, she snapped, her patience wearing thin. Just go. It's not like he's going to eat you. She shifted her gaze to me and lowered her voice. It's fine for you to go. He won't touch you. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't mention anything about how we met today. Zhang Chu blinked. Wait, you're not coming. She rolled her eyes. Why would I? You know how he is. If I'm there, he'll just get more worked up. With a heavy sigh, Zhang Chu led me out. We followed Zhao Chuanfeng toward the Azure Dragon Courtyard. Without Zhang Ruhan there to witness his behavior, the guy went into full peacock mode. He strode ahead, loudly pointing out intersect landmarks and introducing Zhang Chu to every passing disciple like he was some grand benefactor. He acted incredibly warm, constantly asking about Zhang Chu's life in the outer sect. To me, he looked like a total psychopath. One minute he was a brooding, jealous wreck, and the next he was sunshine and rainbows. It was unsettling, but I didn't care. In fact, I was thrilled. The path from the Vermilion Bird Wing to the Azure Dragon Wing was long, and Zhao Chuanfeng seemed to be taking the scenic route just to show off. Since he was busy ignoring me, I was free to work. My eyes darted everywhere, soaking in the hidden meanings of the architecture and the landscapes. My cognition points began to climb. At one point, we passed a cliff where two intersect disciples were sparring. Zhao Chuanfeng actually stopped us for 15 minutes to give a commentary on their technique. He even introduced them to Zhang Chu afterward. That single stop netted me 6,000 points. My total surged back over 30,000. I almost wanted to thank the guy. He wasn't a jerk. He was a walking goldmine. I stayed quiet, playing the role of the silent tag-along while I raked in the profits. By the time we reached the gates of the Azure Dragon Courtyard, my cognition points had shattered the 50,000 mark. At the entrance stood a massive stone monument, identical in purpose to the one at the Vermilion Bird Gate. It was carved with a deep, powerful martial intent. Zhao Chuanfeng, addicted to the sound of his own voice, stopped there for a full 10 minutes to explain its history. Poor Zhang Chu looked like he wanted to shrivel up and die. He didn't realize that the more annoyed he looked, the more Zhao Chuanfeng felt the need to lecture. I, on the other hand, was calculating the math. 300 points a second. 18,000 a minute. By the time he finished his 10-minute speech, I had harvested a staggering 180,000 points. My total hit 230,000. My eyes were practically glowing. I wanted to scream with joy. This guy wasn't a simp or a psycho. He was a saint. The fun ended when we finally entered his personal residence. It was a private courtyard named Chuanfeng Manor. I nearly gagged at the narcissism. He insisted on hosting us, bringing out dishes and 3 jars of wine. Zhang Chu looked miserable but couldn't refuse. He started drinking just to numb the pain and ended up drunk incredibly fast. I wasn't sure if he was faking it to escape the conversation, but it left me alone with the host. Suddenly, Zhao Chuanfeng set his glass down. The fake warmth vanished. He looked at me with cold, naked contempt. You've got decent luck, he said, his voice dripping with disdain. 1 month in the sect, and you've managed to cling to Zhang Chu's coattails. You even got a tour of the inner sect. He leaned forward, his aura pressing down on me. But let me be clear. I don't like other men around Ruhan. Not Zhang Chu, and definitely not a piece of trash like you. I stayed silent. I'll let it slide this time for Zhang Chu's sake, he continued. But if there's a next time, I don't care who brings you here. You'll die? I'm not joking. In this sect, killing you would be as easy as crushing a bug. He reached into his robe and tossed a yellowed, ancient-looking manual onto the table. This is a secret technique to improve your physical talent. Take it and get out. I looked at the book, then at him. He was arrogant and looked down on me from the bottom of his soul. But I didn't feel angry. Anger was useless when you didn't have the power to back it up. Shouting about revenge would just make me look pathetic. I picked up the manual and stood up. Thank you, I said calmly. He looked stunned for a second, clearly not expecting me to be so polite after being insulted. I didn't wait for a reaction. I turned and walked out into the night. He probably thought I was spineless. He didn't understand my logic. If someone wants to give me free stuff while insulting me, I'll take the gift and settle the score later when I'm strong enough to end them in one blow. As I left the Azure Dragon courtyard, I paused one last time by the stone monument. I had a lot of points to spend and a lot of work to do. I wanted to stay by the stone monument a little longer. With no one around, I could have farmed more cognition points. After today, getting back into the inner sect wouldn't be easy. I waited, but after gaining only about 6,000 points, someone stepped out of the Azure Dragon courtyard. Their eyes were cold and unfriendly. I didn't want any more trouble, so I turned and left. By the time I reached Outer Sect Yard 95, the world was silent. Most of the windows were dark, everyone was asleep. Since the courtyard was empty, I sat down cross-legged right there on the cold ground. I pulled up my system panel. Name, Li Yun. Age, 16. Talent, Grade 5. Status, Outer Sect Disciple of Tianwu Sect. Realm, Hodian, Body Refinement Stage 2. Martial Arts, Foundation Stakes, Proficiency 1%. Cognition Points, 240,565. Looking at that massive number, over 240,000 points, I couldn't help but smile. This was my foundation. People like Lu Ningkong or Zhao Chuanfeng didn't matter. Compared to these points, they were nothing. Soon, they would realize that offending me was the biggest mistake of their lives. System, add points, I whispered. I didn't hesitate. I poured 10,000 points into the foundation stakes. 15 minutes later, I opened my eyes. My proficiency had jumped from 1% to the great success stage. I wasn't satisfied. I pushed again, spending another 20,000 points. Half an hour later, the foundation stakes reached perfection. In the eyes of a normal martial artist, perfection was the limit. But Zhang Ruhan had told me the truth. The foundation stakes contained 12 distinct martial intents. They were the source of all martial arts. Only after reaching perfection could a person hope to grasp them. Each intent mastered would provide a massive boost to body refinement. Sure enough, a new option appeared on my panel next to the foundation stakes: Evolve. I guessed that evolution meant tapping into those 12 intents. I decided to try it. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, my face paled. My cognition points plummeted. 50,000 points vanished in a heartbeat. Between reaching perfection and starting the evolution, my balance dropped to 160,565. Damn, these points were disappearing faster than I could earn them. It hurt to see them go, but I couldn't undo it now. I had to face reality. The evolution began. In the next second, I felt like my soul had left my body. I was floating, drifting into a strange, dreamlike state. In this dream, I wasn't a man anymore. I was a pine tree. I stood tall on a mountain, weathered by wind, rain, and heavy snow. I remained upright and proud. I felt a mysterious, rhythmic energy from the world seeping into my wooden body, making my life force burn brighter. The pine intent. It was profound and mysterious. I don't know how long I stayed in that state, but when I finally snapped back to reality, the sky was turning gray with the dawn. A few hard-working disciples in Yard 95 were already up, practicing their forms. They kept glancing at me with strange expressions. I was shocked. Had an entire night passed? Time really does fly when you're cultivating. That was only the first intent of the foundation stakes. If I moved on to higher martial arts, would I lose years in a single sitting? I took a deep breath. The courtyard was getting crowded, and I didn't want to practice here. I stood up and walked toward the gate. I needed a quiet place to test this pine intent and see if it really helped my body refinement. As soon as I left, the whispering started behind me. "What's wrong with Li Yun?" one guy muttered. "Is he possessed? He sat there all night like a statue." "Who knows?" another replied. "Maybe he thinks he's grasping martial intent." "Give me a break," a disciple named Wang Erdong scoffed. "With his grade 5 talent? If he can master an intent, I'll stand on my head and eat dog shit." "Don't be so dramatic," someone laughed. "If he could even reach initial mastery, that would be a miracle." Suddenly, a door creaked open. Gu Yunjing stepped out, his face unreadable. "Wang Erdong, what did you just say?" Wang Erdong immediately straightened up, trying to act cool in front of the grade 1 talent. "Oh, senior brother Gu. Sorry if we woke you. I was just joking. I said if Li Yun actually mastered the stakes, I'd eat dog shit. It's just a laugh." Gu Yunjing smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Oh, I don't mind. But you might have made a big mistake. To tell you the truth, Li Yun reached initial mastery days ago. The supervisor witnessed it himself." Gu Yunjing chuckled and walked away without another word. Wang Erdong froze. The crowd went silent. Then everyone turned to look at him with pitying eyes. I just remembered I have something to do at the dining hall." Wang Erdong stammered, his face turning bright red. He bolted out of the yard as fast as his legs could carry him. The others swarmed Gu Yunjing. "Senior brother, is that true? Did he really do it?" Gu Yunjing wasn't being kind. Ever since that night at the elder's estate, he had been suffocating with resentment. He couldn't understand why a grade 5 trash like me was outperforming a grade 1 genius like him. It was eating him alive, even affecting his own training. He wanted everyone to know. He wanted them to be jealous. He wanted them to hate me for hiding my strength and looking down on them. Under Gu Yunjing's subtle manipulation, the mood in the yard shifted. I became the arrogant guy who kept his progress secret to make everyone else look like fools. But Gu Yunjing didn't notice a furious figure entering the yard. It was Zhang Chu. He had finally sobered up and rushed back from the Azure Dragon courtyard. He was looking for me, and he looked like he wanted blood. I had left Zhang Chu alone at the Azure Dragon courtyard, which felt a bit cold-hearted. But when he finally stumbled back to Yard 95, he didn't come back to complain about being abandoned. He walked straight into a crowd and heard Gu Yunjing dragging my name through the dirt. Zhang Chu didn't hesitate. "Shut your mouth," he roared, cutting Gu Yunjing off mid-sentence. "Whispering behind people's backs to ruin their reputation? And you call yourself the senior brother? Look at your face, Gu Yunjing. You've got 0 class. You're just a petty loser." Gu Yunjing spun around, his face twisting with rage. "Zhang Chu, you bastard. How dare you talk to me like that?" Zhang Chu didn't blink. "Talking is the nice part. I'd beat you down if you were worth the effort, but you aren't. You're going too far." Gu Yunjing stammered. "I'm not slandering him. I'm telling the truth. Li Yun only has grade 5 talent. How could he master the stakes so fast? He must be using some dirty tricks. Plus, he's always hiding, acting like he's too good for the rest of us." "Which part of that is wrong?" Zhang Chu let out a cold laugh. "Mastered? Who told you he just mastered them? He reached the proficient stage ages ago. I reached initial mastery just because he gave me a few pointers. Meanwhile, you, the so-called genius, are stuck in the past with your little group of sycophants, acting all high and mighty while you rot with jealousy. It's pathetic. If I were Li Yun, I wouldn't talk to you either." Zhang Chu turned his back on Gu Yunjing and looked at another disciple named Qinshan. "Have you seen Li Yun?" "He just left," Qinshan replied. "Not sure where he went." "That jerk," Zhang Chu grumbled, though he didn't sound truly angry. "He left me at the courtyard while I was drunk, just so he could sneak off and train. I'm going to settle the score with him." Zhang Chu bolted out of the yard. He knew exactly where I was. I'd be at that secluded spot where we met his sister yesterday. It was quiet, hidden, and perfect for practice. Back in the yard, the silence was deafening. The disciples looked at each other, their minds racing. "Did you hear that?" someone whispered. "He didn't just master the stakes. He's at the proficient stage. You've got to be kidding me. Reaching proficient in 1 month. That doesn't just break the record, it obliterates it. Li Yun is a monster. Is a true dragon actually rising out of Yard 95? If we're in the same sect as a genius like that, we might actually benefit. Gu Yunjung stood there, his face turning from bright red to a dark, sickly purple. He looked like he wanted to explode. Wait, Chen Shan said, his voice dropping to a low tone. Forget the stakes for a second. Did you guys catch what Zhang Chu said? They were at the inner sect last night, drinking together. The yard went dead silent again. The implications hit them like a physical weight. Going to the inner sect to drink? What kind of terrifying background did I actually have? Suddenly, the way everyone looked at Gu Yunjing changed. They weren't looking at a leader anymore. They were looking at an idiot. Why would anyone offend a genius with powerful connections just out of petty jealousy? Let's go practice, one disciple said, turning away from Gu Yunjing. When Senior Brotherly gets back, maybe we can ask him for advice. We might actually improve. Exactly. Having Senior Brotherly here is a blessing for our yard. The crowd dispersed instantly. No one stayed behind to talk to Gu Yunjing. Even his loyal followers slipped away without a word. He wanted to isolate me, but he had ended up completely alone. Gu Yunjing's eyes turned bloodshot. You bunch of two-faced snakes. Just you wait. I don't believe a grade 5 piece of trash is a genius. I won't lose to him. He stormed out of the yard, but no one cared. They just watched him leave with pity and contempt. Meanwhile, in the quiet woods, I was deep in my flow. I moved through the 12 foundation stakes, transitioning from one to the next like water. When I returned to the first stance and held it, something changed. My presence shifted. I felt steady, unyielding, like an ancient pine tree standing tall against a blizzard. Zhang Chu arrived at the edge of the clearing and froze. His jaw dropped so low you could have fit an egg in his mouth. A chill ran down his spine. Is he a freak? Zhang Chu whispered to himself. He already grasped the martial intent. I didn't notice him yet. I was feeling the faint wisps of spiritual energy being drawn toward me, soaking into my skin and bones. Usually, only those born with spirit roots could do this. It turned out the sect's insistence on these basic stakes wasn't a waste of time after all. If the first stance gave me this much, what would happen if I mastered the intent of all 12? I felt a surge of excitement. I might be able to reach the 9th level of body tempering and break into the power refinement realm without any pills or outside help. Li Yun. No, boss. Zhang Chu came running over, grinning ear to ear. You're cold-blooded, man. Leaving me alone at Zhao Chuanfeng's place while you sneak off to train. I didn't sneak off, I said, relaxing my stance. I was basically kicked out. And since when am I your boss? Zhang Chu gave me a cheeky grin. You coached me yesterday and got me to initial mastery. You're the boss now. If the sect rules didn't stop me, I'd be kneeling to call you master. Get lost. I laughed, playfully trying to kick him, but he dodged. So, he said, getting curious. You said you were kicked out. What happened? I didn't see a reason to hide it. I pulled out the manual Zhao Chuanfeng had given me. After you passed out, your future brother-in-law showed his true colors. He gave me this book, says it can improve my talent. The price? I stay away from your sister and never go to the inner sect again. If I do, he'll kill me. Zhang Chu spat on the ground. Typical Zhao Chuanfeng. Petty and snaky. I hate that guy. Wait, let me see that. He snatched the book and flipped through the pages. His face darkened instantly. I knew it. It's the life-hiding art. Li Yun, whatever you do, do not practice this. Improving your talent? This book wants your life. Zhang Chu's voice was sharp with anger. Wants my life. I frowned. Explain. I never actually believed Zhao Chuanfeng was being kind. Why would he just hand over a manual that could change someone's natural-born talent? In this world, talent was something you were born with. It was almost impossible to change. If a technique truly existed that could alter your foundations, it would be a world-class treasure. There was no way a guy like Zhao Chuanfeng would just throw it at me like trash. I had hoped Zhang Chu would recognize it, and he didn't disappoint. Boss, this book is called The Life-Hiding Art, Zhang Chu said, his face pale. My sister told me about it. 10 years ago, it caused a massive scandal. People heard it could boost talent, and everyone went crazy for it. Even inner sect disciples couldn't resist the temptation. But the results were horrific. Everyone who practiced it either died or ended up crippled. He took a deep breath. The sect elders investigated and found out it was a trap. A group called the Heavenly Fate Cult spread it on purpose. It's impossible to master. It just turns you into a broken shell or a literal monster. 10 years ago, the sect banned it. Anyone caught practicing it is expelled immediately. If you actually cause a disaster with it, the Hall of Discipline will execute you as a heretic. My blood ran cold. As a transmigrator, I immediately saw the trap Zhao Chuanfeng had set for me. It was a double-edged sword. If I was greedy and practiced it in secret, I'd end up dead or crippled. If I resisted the urge, but someone accidentally reported me for possessing a forbidden manual, I'd be finished. I couldn't even report him back. No one saw him give it to me. If I tried to accuse an inner sect disciple, he'd just flip the script and say I was framing him. An outer sect disciple framing an inner sect elite? I'd be executed before I could finish my sentence. That bastard was truly vicious. All this just because Zhang Ruhan took me for a walk in the inner sect? I quietly added Zhao Chuanfeng's name to my mental blacklist. Just wait, I thought. Sooner or later, I'm going to kill you. Zhang Chu was fuming. This is too much. He's using forbidden arts to frame you? I'm going to find my sister right now. I grabbed his arm and snatched the book back. Stop. What are you going to do? She's your future brother-in-law's fiancée. Do you really think she'll report him? Besides, do we have proof? If you run into the inner sect carrying this forbidden book and get caught, you're dead, and you'll probably drag your sister down with you. Zhang Chu froze. He bit his lip, frustrated. Then what? We just let him get away with it? It makes me sick just thinking about it. I actually laughed. Isn't he your own people, since he's marrying your sister? He's framing me, not you. Why are you angrier than I am? Own people? I spit on that. Zhang Chu snapped. If it weren't for... Ugh, forget it. My sister would kill me if I told you. But I have to tell her what he did. I'll ask her if there's a way out. If that guy has his eyes on you, he'll kill you eventually. He didn't wait for me to answer. He turned and ran off toward the inner sect. I shook my head, watching him go. I wasn't too worried. Zhao Chuanfeng was an inner sect disciple, but these petty schemes were beneath someone of his status. To me, the solution was simple: power. If I got strong enough, all his little plots would be useless. I tossed the forbidden book aside and pulled out the other manual Zhang Ruhan had given me, the Cicada's Silk Mirror. Unlike the basic stakes, this was a real combat technique. I was genuinely curious. I flipped through the pages. It was a body-tempering technique, but a high-grade one. It focused on softness and fluidity, using 18 grappling moves to entangle an enemy like silk threads until they were locked tight. It looked incredibly powerful, but it was notoriously hard to learn. Most fighters at my level only understood brute force. They hit hard and fast. Trying to find this softness within that power was like trying to catch smoke. I tried a few moves myself, but it felt wrong. My mind knew I should be fluid, but my body just felt weak. I was suppressing my strength to act soft, which just made the moves awkward. I nearly threw my back out after a few tries. This was the limit of my grade 5 talent. Compared to the geniuses who could feel the rhythm of a technique instantly, I was a turtle. But I wasn't worried. I wasn't stupid enough to grind my head against a wall when I had a cheat code. I opened my system panel. I had over 160,000 cognition points sitting there. Time to spend. I closed my eyes and let the system take over. In my mind, a phantom figure began to perform the Cicada's Silk Mirror. I watched, absorbed, and felt the knowledge burning into my brain. 200 points, initial mastery. 500 points, intermediate. 1200, proficient. 3000, minor success. 6000, expert. 10,000, great success. 20,000, grand completion. In just about 3 hours, I spent 40,900 points. I had reached a level that would take a normal disciple over a year of constant practice to achieve. The feeling was incredible. I walked into a small grove of trees to test it out. My hands moved like 2 strikes of lightning, but they were as fluid as snakes. I wrapped my fingers around a tree trunk as thick as my wrist. With a slight twist, not a jerk, but a smooth, spiraling pressure, the wood snapped like a dry twig. It felt effortless. Martial arts were truly terrifying. And this was just the beginning. I looked at my hands, my heart racing. If I could reach the Xiantian realm or higher, what would that feel like? In my past life, money was everything. In this life, power was the only currency that mattered. True power was the ultimate courage. In this world, strength beat money every single time. Reaching grand completion in the cicada silk mirror gave me a sense of security I'd never felt before. But I knew I couldn't stop there. I looked at my remaining cognition points. I wanted to dump them into the foundation stakes to master all 12 martial intents and boost my body tempering efficiency. The cicada silk mirror was elegant and deadly, but it needed a foundation of raw strength to work. If I didn't have enough power, I could snap a branch, but I wouldn't be able to scratch a thick tree trunk. Skills and cultivation had to grow together. Just as I was about to upgrade the stakes, I felt a strange pull. I reached into my robe and pulled out the Nimi-Ju manual Zhao Chuanfeng had given me. Everyone said this technique was impossible to learn, but I had a system. If this manual really could change a person's natural talent, it would be a literal life changer for someone like me with a lowly grade 5 rank. I looked around to make sure I was alone. I figured there was no harm in trying. If it didn't work, I'd just throw it away. I flipped through the pages. It was short. Only 7 or 8 pages, maybe 4,000 words in total. It took me a few minutes to read the whole thing. Ding! A new line appeared on my system panel. Nimi-Ju, uninitiated. My heart leaped. If the system recorded it, that meant it was a real martial art. It meant I could use points to level it up just like anything else. I tucked the manual away and focused. I hit the upgrade button. My jaw dropped. The first level, just to reach initial mastery, cost 10,000 points. My balance plummeted to 119,665. I felt a strange rhythm enter my lungs, a unique way of breathing. But other than that, nothing. I didn't feel any stronger or faster. I felt like I'd been scammed. 10,000 points for a breathing exercise? But I was already committed. A cost that high had to mean the technique was extraordinary, far beyond basic body tempering skills. I gritted my teeth and hit the upgrade button again. My soul shivered. The second level cost a staggering 100,000 points. In an instant, my wealth vanished, leaving me with only 19,665 points. I couldn't even afford to upgrade my foundation stakes now. The pain in my chest was real. It felt like someone had carved a piece out of my heart. But the Nimi-Ju reached the proficient stage. The breathing pattern became more complex, and a new method of moving my blood and chi took hold. I sat down cross-legged in the grove, eyes closed, and started the cycle. If anyone had been watching, they would have been terrified. My skin turned a deep, angry red, like glowing iron. Steam began to rise from my shoulders. The air around me for 3 meters grew hot, the temperature spiking as my internal heat flared. 2 minutes later, I snapped my eyes open. I gasped for air, feeling like I'd just escaped a furnace. Damn it, I wheezed. What kind of art is this? Compared to the pleasant flow of my other skills, the Nimi-Ju was pure torture. It felt like my blood was on fire, circulating liquid flame through my veins. The pain was so intense I couldn't last more than 2 minutes. It wasn't about willpower, it was survival. I had a terrifying feeling that if I kept going for 5 more minutes, I would literally cook from the inside out and die. I waited for my body to cool down, panting as my temperature returned to normal. I decided I couldn't rush this. I needed more points to level it up further and see if the pain eased. I stood up to leave, but then I froze. Something was different. My limbs felt heavier, yet more powerful. My breathing was deeper, and I could hear my heart beating like a steady, rhythmic drum. I felt lighter, like I had shed an old skin. I pulled up the system panel, and my eyes nearly popped out of my head. Name: Li Yun. Age: 16. Talent: Grade 5. Intermediate. Cultivation: Body tempering Tier 3. Skills: Foundation stakes, Max. Cicada silk mirror, Max. Nimi-Ju, Proficient. Cognition points: 19,565. I stared at the screen. I had jumped to Tier 3 in an instant, but that wasn't the shocker. My talent, the one thing that was supposed to be set in stone at birth, had actually moved. I went from a standard Grade 5 to Grade 5 Intermediate. It worked. The Nimi-Ju actually worked. The 100,000 points were worth every single drop. I was so excited I almost sat back down to train again, but the memory of that burning pain stopped me. My gut told me that this technique was extreme. If I pushed too hard without resting, I'd kill myself before I ever reached grade 4 talent. I needed to be smart. I would wait a day before trying again. In the meantime, I had 3 powerful techniques under my belt, and I needed to find a way to harvest more points. The path to the top was finally opening up. My hunger for cognition points was growing. I didn't want my cultivation to stall just because I ran out of fuel. I decided not to wait any longer. I was going to Tsang Yunju to see Zhang Tsung. I had 2 goals: hold him to his promise of a reward, and stare at that plaque again to harvest more points. The inner sect was still off limits to me, making Tsang Yunju the best spot in the entire outer sect to farm martial intent. I moved quickly, but I wasn't reckless. Before leaving the woods, I pulled out the Nimiju manual. I took out my fire starter and watched the pages curl and blacken until they were nothing but ash. I had already mastered the technique. Keeping the book was just a liability. If someone caught me with a forbidden manual, it would be my head on the block. I crushed the ashes into the dirt until they vanished. Just as I finished, Zhang Chu came running back into the clearing, looking defeated. "Boss, my sister knows," he panted, his shoulders slumped. "But she doesn't have a solution. She said you should destroy the book immediately and pretend you never saw it." I couldn't help but laugh. Zhang Chu looked annoyed. "Boss, how can you laugh at a time like this?" "Why shouldn't I?" I shrugged. "It's exactly what I expected. Don't worry, I've got this under control. Look." I pointed at the faint gray smudge on the ground. "The book is already gone." Zhang Chu stared at the ashes and gave me a massive thumbs up. "Boss, you're incredible. You didn't even hesitate? That's cold." He didn't know the half of it. He thought I was being decisive by destroying a poisonous book, but the truth was I'd already drained its secrets. I felt a little guilty, but I wasn't about to tell him I'd actually practiced the thing. That was a secret I'd take to my grave. "It's just a book," I said, acting indifferent. "If it's dangerous, why keep it around? That's just asking for trouble." "True," Zhang Chu agreed, moving past it. "So what's the plan now?" "I'm going to see Elder Zhang Kong. You mentioned he's technically your nephew or something, right? Want to come along?" Zhang Chu's face lit up. "To see Zhang Tsung? Heck yeah. Since official Su has left the city, I'm going to use your glory to squeeze a reward out of Zhang Tsung too." We left the woods, chatting and laughing as we headed toward Tsang Yunju. We didn't notice the eyes watching us from a distance. On a narrow path nearby, Gu Yunjing stood with 2 older students. His eyes were cold and full of spite as he pointed at me. "Cousin, that's him. That's Li Yun. I need you to find a way to teach him a lesson, a hard one. I want him kicked out of the Tianwu sect. Do this for me, and I'll make it worth your while." The older man, He Tingfeng, nodded slowly. Beside him stood Su Youwu. Both were third-year disciples from the 77th courtyard. In the outer sect, 3 years was the limit. You either broke through to the innate realm and entered the inner sect, or you fought for a top 1,000 spot in the grand exam to stay on as a deacon. Otherwise, you were packed up and sent home. These 2 were losers in the grand scheme of things. Their chances of advancing were nearly 0. But they had 2 years of cultivation over me. They were both at tier 9 of body tempering. To them, a freshman who had been here for a month was a bug they could squash with one finger. Their only concern was the sect rules and the rumors that I had background in the inner sect. In a place like the Tianwu sect, connections were often more dangerous than talent. "Just a rumor of a background," He Tingfeng muttered. "We've been here 2 years. We know people in the inner sect too. If things get messy, we can pay someone to smooth it over. But we'll be smart about it." They decided to jump me in secret. If they wore masks and caught me alone, I'd never know who did it. "We've got his face memorized," He Tingfeng told Gu Yunjing. "Go back. Don't mention this to anyone. If the Hall of Discipline catches us, even a true disciple would have a hard time. We'll handle it." Gu Yunjing nodded, casting one last hateful glance at my back before turning away. "So what if you have a background?" he thought. Asterisk, so what if you mastered the stakes? I'll make sure you can't keep your feet on the ground. Asterisk. He Tingfeng and Su Youwu trailed us from a distance, waiting for a dark corner or a quiet alley. But when they saw us walk straight into the gates of Tsang Yunju, they cursed under their breaths. Attacking someone near the elder's residence was suicide. They had no choice but to retreat and wait for another day. Inside, I saw Zhang Tsung for the first time in 4 days. He looked surprised to see me, but his face soured the moment he spotted Zhang Chu trailing behind me. Zhang Chu, what are you doing here? Zhang Tsung snapped. Zhang Chu didn't miss a beat. He strolled over to a chair and plopped down like he owned the place. Wow, look at you, the big outer sect elder, Zhang Chu smirked. So high and mighty, you can't even call me uncle anymore? Zhang Tsung's face turned a deep shade of purple. He looked like he was about to have a stroke. It was true. By family bloodline, he actually had to call this teenage brat uncle. Zhang Chu was only 16 years old, while Zhang Tsung was over 60. Even worse, we were standing right in the middle of the Tianwu sect, surrounded by other outer disciples. There was no way Elder Zhang Tsung was going to call a teenager uncle in public. The man looked like he was swallowing a lemon. Zhang Chu, behave yourself, Zhang Tsung hissed. This isn't home. This is the Tianwu sect. Since you're a disciple here, you will address me as elder. Zhang Chu rolled his eyes and grabbed my arm, trying to pull me into the argument. Li Yun, look at this. This old guy is actually trying to use the sect rules to suppress me. I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't suicidal. I had no intention of offending an elder just to back up Zhang Chu's family drama. Zhang Chu, stop messing around, I whispered. I'm here for official business. Zhang Chu slapped his forehead. Right. The official business. I almost forgot. Zhang Tsung. Elder Zhang. I heard you made a promise. You said if Li Yun reached the proficient stage in his foundation stakes within half a month, you'd personally give him a martial technique and blood-chi pills. Well, he's here. Don't you dare try to back out. He leaned in closer, a mischievous glint in his eye. Just so you know, my sister knows about this too. If you try to cheat him, I'll tell her everything. Let's see if you have the face to show up at the next family gathering. Zhang Tsung's expression shifted instantly. He could ignore Zhang Chu's nonsense, but Zhang Ruhan was a different story. She was a genius inner disciple of the Vermilion Bird Court. Her cultivation was already close to his, and with their family hierarchy, he really couldn't afford to offend her. He turned his gaze toward me, his eyes sharp. Li Yun, you've been to the inner sect? Yes, elder, I replied respectfully. I went to the inner sect and received some guidance from senior sister Zhang. My foundation stakes saw a major breakthrough these past few days, so I gathered my courage to come and see you. Zhang Tsung wasn't a fool. He realized I had somehow earned Zhang Ruhan's favor. He didn't care how I did it. He just knew he had to respect it. Plus, he never intended to break his word anyway. Fine, Zhang Tsung said with a small smile. Getting guidance from an inner sect sister is quite the stroke of luck. If you've really reached the proficient stage in just a few days, I'll honor my promise. 1 martial technique, 2 blood-chi pills. You'll get exactly what you earned. I nodded and stepped forward to begin the forms. Thank you, elder. Wait a second. Zhang Chu jumped in again, blocking my path. Zhang Tsung, you're really looking down on people, aren't you? Proficient stage? You clearly haven't seen a real genius before. Giving my boss just 1 technique and 2 pills for his talent is practically an insult. Zhang Tsung looked like he was going to explode. Zhang Chu, you brat. Get out of here before I personally drag you to the Hall of Discipline and make your sister come pick you up. Who are you trying to scare? Zhang Chu shot back, crossing his arms. I'm not leaving. I'm here for my reward too. My foundation stakes have reached the success stage. If Li Yun gets a prize, I should get one too. Zhang Tsung actually laughed at that. You've barely been in the sect for a month, and you spend all your time fooling around. How could you possibly have reached the success stage already? See, looking down on me again. Fine. I'll open your eyes for you. Zhang Chu stepped into the center of the courtyard. To my surprise, he actually focused. He began to perform the foundation stakes, moving through the forms with unexpected fluidity. Zhang Tsung's skeptical look vanished. His eyes widened, and he leaned forward in his chair. He was more shocked by this than he had been by my initial progress. He knew Zhang Chu's talent, or lack thereof, better than anyone. He expected the kid to fail, but Zhang Chu finished all 12 stakes perfectly. Not bad, Zhang Tsung admitted, his voice full of genuine surprise. It seems you actually put in some hard work this month. With your grade 2 talent, if you keep this up, you might actually make it to the inner sect within 5 years. For a grade 2 talent, 5 years was a generous estimate. Most people with that level of talent only had a 50% chance of ever reaching the Xiantian realm. But Zhang Chu had the backing of the Zhang family and his sister. If he showed potential, the family would pour resources into him. Zhang Chu wasn't satisfied with the praise, though. 5 years? My boss is leading the way, so I'll be in the inner sect way sooner than that. Right, boss? He beamed at me, but Zhang Tsung was stuck on the word boss. He looked at me, then back at Zhang Chu, trying to process the dynamic. Don't bother looking at him with those old, blurry eyes, Zhang Chu teased. You're still talking about the proficient stage? That's nothing. Yesterday, my boss reached the mastery stage. Then, right in front of my sister, he had an epiphany and hit the perfection stage. And today, he's fully completed the stakes. Have you ever seen a genius like that? And you only want to give him 2 tiny pills? If I were him, I'd leave this sect tonight and join a different one tomorrow. Zhang Chu, stop talking nonsense. I barked, grabbing him by the collar and pulling him back. I bowed quickly to the elder. Elder Zhang, please ignore him. He doesn't know when to stop joking. Zhang Tsung didn't look angry. Instead, he stared at me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I know when he's joking and when he's not. Li Yun, I'm asking you straight. Have your foundation stakes really reached perfection? I took a breath and nodded slowly. I didn't plan on hiding it. In a place like the Tianwu sect, if you want resources and protection, you have to show your value. Thanks to official Su and senior sister Zhang, I have indeed reached perfection, I said calmly. I've even managed to grasp the martial intent of the first stake. The silence that followed was deafening. Zhang Tsung looked like he'd been hit by a physical blow. A month in the sect, perfection stage, and he grasped martial intent? It was impossible. It was unheard of. Li Yun, he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. Show me. Right now. Yes, elder. I stepped into the open space. Zhang Chu stood to the side, winking at the elder with a smug grin, but Zhang Tsung ignored him entirely. His eyes were locked on me. Just then, 2 more figures walked through the gates of Tsang Yunju. Old Zhang, what are you doing? Old Li and I came over for a drink. Why aren't you greeting us? 2 men, roughly the same age as Zhang Tsung, walked in laughing. They stopped dead when they saw the tension in the courtyard. Wait, what's going on here? Zhang Tsung didn't even look at them. He just gestured for them to stay back. Old Li, Old Huang, you got here just in time. Don't say a word. Just watch. He looked at me. Li Yun. I didn't hesitate. I took a deep breath, centered my mind, and dropped into the first form. The moment I moved, the atmosphere in the courtyard changed. The eyes of Zhang Tsung and the 2 newcomers went wide. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. My movements were seamless, flowing from one form to the next with natural grace. This was the sign of perfection. I could hear them whispering behind me. They were calculating the timeline. I'd only joined the sect in September, barely over a month ago. To reach perfection in the foundation stakes in that time was unheard of. Old Zhang, one of them whispered, his voice thick with shock. You were hiding a massive surprise for us, weren't you? Zhang Tsung didn't answer. He couldn't. He was staring at me, his gaze fixed on every shift of my weight and every flick of my wrist. To them, it wasn't just a practice session anymore. It was a performance. It was art. They couldn't even look away. I finished the 12 forms in a flash and returned to the starting position. I stood perfectly still. In that moment, a strange, profound rhythm radiated from my body. It was the green pine intent, the very essence of the technique. Green pine intent, the 3 of them shouted in unison. Their voices were a mix of pure shock and frantic joy. Before I could even finish my closing breath, they rushed forward, surrounding me. They looked me up and down with burning eyes, as if they were examining a rare treasure. A genius, Zhang Tsung muttered, his voice trembling with excitement. A month to master the stakes and grasp the intent? In the 800-year history of the Tianwu sect, no one has ever done this. I could see the gears turning in Zhang Tsung's head. Finding a talent like me was a huge win for him. In a massive sect like this, there are factions. Bringing in a monster talent meant his faction and the Zhang family would gain immense influence. Right then and there, all 3 elders came to the same conclusion. I had to be nurtured at all costs. But then, the excitement cooled into suspicion. Li Yun, how did you do it? Zhang Tsung asked, his eyes narrowing. It's impossible. It defies logic. You can't just call this talent anymore. I put on my best innocent face. I don't know, elders. I just practiced normally. I told them about the notes official Su had given me. I tried to pin my rapid progress on that little book, hoping they'd buy it. But these men weren't fools. They were outer sect elders. They knew exactly what those notes were. Inner disciples sold dozens of versions of those to earn extra cash. If a simple notebook could create geniuses like me, the sect would have hundreds of new inner disciples every year. The notes aren't that special, one of the elders said. Try again. Did anything strange happen to you recently? Anything at all? I pretended to think hard, my mind racing. I couldn't mention the system. That was my ultimate secret. If I didn't give them a reason they could accept, they'd keep digging until things got dangerous. Wait, I said, my eyes brightening as if I'd just remembered something. I didn't meet anyone strange, but about 2 weeks after joining, I was walking in the mountains and accidentally swallowed a purple fruit. Does that count? A purple fruit. Elder Huang Huazhong gasped, his breath catching. What did it look like? How did it feel? I don't remember the shape clearly. I lied, keeping my voice steady. But after I ate it, my whole body felt like it was on fire. I thought I was going to burn up, but my mind became incredibly clear. Huang Huazhong sucked in a sharp breath. I knew it. Could it be the legendary purple mysterious spirit fruit? The other two elders, Zhang Tsong and Li Sixing, turned pale. The purple mysterious spirit fruit was a myth. It was said to be born from the clouds and vanish the moment it hit the ground. You couldn't find it by looking, and you definitely couldn't grow it. Only those blessed by the heavens, people with immense fate, could ever stumble upon one. Is it really possible? Zhang Tsong whispered, looking at me with newfound awe. Why not? Huang Huazhong snapped. Fate is a fickle thing. Even the strongest experts can't see it with the naked eye. Who are we to say this boy doesn't have it? He turned back to me, a glint in his eye. If he really ate that fruit, he should have spirit rhythm in his body. Over time, it grants the user godlike comprehension. That would explain why he mastered the stakes so fast. But we need to be sure. How? Zhang Tsong asked. Huang Huazhong smiled and looked at me. Li Yun, do you dare to take a challenge right here, right now? I stood up and bowed. Elder Huang, what kind of challenge? Simple, he said. I will perform a high-grade body refining martial art right in front of you. You watch me once, and then you show us how much you can learn on the spot. What do you say? The other two elders grinned. This was the perfect test. If I could learn a complex technique in minutes, it proved my comprehension was real. My heart skipped a beat, but for a different reason. A peak-level elder performing a high-grade technique right in front of me? That wasn't a challenge. That was a buffet of cognition points. It would be my honor to watch you, elder, I said immediately. Good. You've got guts, Huang Huazhong laughed. He leaped into the center of the courtyard. Listen well, Li Yun. This technique is rare. It's called the Essence Thunder. It's a body-refining art, but if you master it, you can grasp the thunder intent. Your strikes will be so fast and carry such a shock that even a stronger warrior won't be able to block them. Watch closely. He began to move. Zhang Tsong and Li Sixing watched me, waiting to see if I was a fluke or a legend. They wanted to see if I could really grasp a high-grade art on the fly. Little did they know, as far as I was concerned, the show was already over. I was going to learn every bit of it. The elders didn't know the truth. They thought I had some godlike natural talent, but it was my system doing the heavy lifting. As soon as Huang Huazhong started his demonstration, my vision blurred with notifications. Observing martial arts performance. Cognition points plus 500. Observing martial arts performance. Cognition points plus 500. It was insane. I was raking in 500 points every single second. This was even better than the stone tablets at the sect gates. To make things better, Huang Huazhong actually slowed down his movements. He thought he was helping a low-level disciple keep up, but he was really just handing me a massive fortune. By the time he finished the 3-minute routine, my cognition points had surged past 100,000. A new skill appeared on my panel, Essence Thunder, level, uninitiated. Huang Huazhong pulled back his stance and smiled at me. Li Yun, did you see it clearly? I hesitated. This was a gold mine, and I wasn't ready to leave yet. Elder Huang, I said, bowing low. I caught the general flow, but some details are still blurry. Could you show me one more time? He didn't hesitate. He performed the entire set again, even slower this time, adding verbal explanations for every move. My system went into overdrive. The game jumped from 500 to 600 points per second. After 5 minutes, I had banked another 180,000 points. In total, I had over 280,000 cognition points. I wanted to laugh out loud, but I kept my face calm. I knew I couldn't push my luck a third time, or they'd get suspicious. Thank you, Elder. I will try my best, I said. I walked to the center of the clearing and closed my eyes. They thought I was visualizing the moves, but I was actually talking to my system. I spent 500 points to reach entry level, then 1,000 for accomplished. Finally, I dropped 2,500 points to reach proficient. I stopped there. I couldn't go any higher. Learning a high-grade art to the proficient level after seeing it twice was already pushing the limits of logic. If I went to small success immediately, they'd think I was a monster or a spy. I opened my eyes, radiating confidence. Elders, please watch. I moved. My body stretched out as I executed the 9 forms of the essence thunder. At first, my strikes were a bit stiff, but they quickly became fluid and violent. By the end, the air around my fists crackled like rolling thunder. The 3 elders were stunned into silence. Their faces were masks of pure shock. To learn it is one thing, but to reach proficient level in minutes? It was unheard of. Huang Huazhong looked like he'd seen a ghost. He remembered his own youth as an outer disciple. He had spent months studying manuals and even climbed mountains during lightning storms just to understand the intent of this technique. It had taken him 3 full months to reach the level I just displayed in 3 minutes. If anyone tells me this boy didn't eat a divine fruit, I'll fight them, Li Sixing muttered, his eyes wide. Even a grade 1 talent couldn't do this. Li Sixing couldn't hold back anymore. He stood up, his face eager. My turn. Li Yun, do you want to learn another one? My heart leaped. Was this my lucky day? They were literally lining up to give me free points. Elderly, if you're willing to teach, I'm honored to learn. Li Sixing didn't waste time. He started his demonstration, and the notifications flooded in again. Cognition points plus 500. Cognition points plus 500. He did it twice, just like Huang Huazhong. By the end, I had learned a new movement technique and added another 270,000 points to my bank. My total hit 540,000. Then it was Zhang Tsung's turn. Not wanting to be outdone, he performed 2 different techniques back to back. By the time he was finished, my total cognition points had smashed through the 1 million mark. To top it off, they handed me 3 bottles of blood chi pills, 30 pills in total. Zhang Chu, standing in the corner, looked like his eyes were going to fall out of his head from envy. By now, night had fallen over the estate. The 3 elders sat me down, their expressions grave but supportive. Li Yun, Zhang Tsung said, your comprehension is the greatest we have ever seen. We will report this to the sect's high command. You will get resources, but you will also attract trouble. People will be jealous. They will challenge you. He paused, looking me in the eye. But don't worry. Trouble is often just opportunity in disguise. Handle this right, and you'll soar through the Sky Sword sect. I nodded respectfully. I wasn't naive. I knew they weren't doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. In this world, everything is about profit. They saw my value, and they wanted to claim a piece of my future success before anyone else did. And honestly, I was perfectly fine with that. I didn't mind the elders' offer at all. In fact, I was more than willing to cooperate. The system provided me with cognition points to master martial arts faster than anyone else, but it didn't make me invincible overnight. To truly rise in this world, I needed resources. I needed influence. I had to play the game strategically, one step at a time. I looked at the 3 elders and gave a firm nod. I told them I understood. Zhang Tsung smiled, looking satisfied. He told me they had seen my talent and my character with their own eyes. He promised that if I kept this up, there would be a place for me among the world's strongest experts. Before I left, he gave me one more piece of news. He told me to come back tomorrow. He was going to personally take me to the martial armory to choose a new technique. Leaving the Tsang Yunju estate felt incredible. My mood was at an all-time high. Beside me, Zhang Chu wouldn't stop chattering. He was buzzing with excitement. He kept saying that at this rate, it wouldn't be long before I became the chief of the human rank outer sect. That title actually piqued my interest. The chief position Gu Yunzheng held back at Yard 95 was just something Su Qing made up to motivate the students. It wasn't officially recognized by the sect. But the title Zhang Chu was talking about was different. This was a rank acknowledged by the sect, one that came with real privileges. In the entire outer sect, there were only 10 such positions. The disciples were divided into 4 ranks: heaven, earth, human, and mortal. Since we had all just joined in September, we were still considered newcomers. The 4 chief positions hadn't been decided yet. To claim one, you had to produce results. You had to prove your dominance. It wasn't going to be easy. Each rank had 100 yards, and each yard had 100 disciples. That meant I was competing against 10,000 people. Standing out among 10,000 peers was a level of competition most people couldn't even imagine. It was a total grind. Still, I felt confident. I had the system. We were only 1 month into the term, and I was already miles ahead of everyone else. If I couldn't become the chief with these advantages, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror. Of course, I knew things weren't always fair. In a competition involving fame and profit, there were always people pulling strings behind the scenes. I could win on pure strength, but if someone played dirty, I'd have to be ready to flip the table and cause a scene. But that wasn't my main concern right now. My real problem was how to spend my million cognition points. It sounded like a lot, but it really wasn't. I had 4 new martial arts techniques that needed leveling up. They would boost my immediate combat power, and luckily, maxing them out wouldn't cost much. The real money pits were the foundation stakes and the fate-reversing art. The foundation stakes still had 11 true intents that hadn't been upgraded. Each one cost 50,000 points. That was 550,000 points right there, just for the upgrades. Then there was the fate-reversing art. It cost 10,000 just to start and 100,000 for the next level. The costs were only going to skyrocket from there. It was going to be an astronomical sum. But that art was vital because it improved my natural talent. I had already noticed a pattern. The better my talent, the more points I gained from observing things, and the fewer points I spent on upgrades. Improving my grade 5 talent was the only way to survive in the long run. I rubbed my temples, feeling a massive headache coming on. I thought 1,000,000 points would let me live like a king for a while. Instead, I was already broke. A hand suddenly waved in front of my face. It was Zhang Chu. He was looking at me with a confused expression, wondering if I was okay. He said I'd been acting distracted the whole way back. I blinked, realizing we were almost home.